Boom! Another episode of TTM Chat. We've got an amazing guest in the house. Amazing guest. We're super lucky to have this guest in the house. We've got Aseer, the Duke of Tears, in the house.
Peace.
And yeah, so it's great to have you here, man.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah.
I love being on platforms where people is just known for, you know, putting the foot to ask when it comes to the truth, man. I really respect what you're doing, because if it wasn't for you out there, a lot of people wouldn't know all of the deep racist and horrible sex trafficking situations that's happening in this pseudo EDM fake DJ market that these dudes be doing.
Exactly, man.
But to me, real quick, that whole scene to me was reminiscent of like the MMA scene, like in a sense that the WIGHTs, it's like they kept losing in boxing. They kept getting beat up in boxing for years. They never had a great white hope. Like the last great white hope they had was what?
Gracie's, you mean like Gracie's, those cats?
Yeah, like I'm talking about like when it was really like, you know, they was really fighting. They was always trying to create a situation because it was always race-based. Boxing and pugilism was always race-based, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And they always play up, just like wrestling, how they play up the stereotypes. That's how they got. That's how they got Jack Johnson caught up when they created the whole thing. When they got tired of seeing him beating up the white man almost to death, almost killing him, then gotta leave and then watch all of the little white girls follow him in his car, and then knowing he having sex with all of them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was rolling around in like a, what was it? Like a, whatever, it was a fast sports car, I remember.
Yeah, boy. He was one of the first people to really be on that rock star shit.
Exactly. He had
they created
fronts. He had the gold fronts.
Yeah, he had gold fronts.
Wasn't he playing some instrument too? Wasn't he
used to play instruments? He helped develop the wrench.
Oh yeah,
he didn't invent the wrench. The black man invented it, but there was another original man. He invented it, but then he expanded it. Like he expanded on the invention, and then the white people started hating on it, and that's when they start calling it a monkey wrench.
Exactly.
See what I'm saying? Because they're trying to diss them. You know what I'm saying? But what I was saying with the boxing though and the MMA was like they kept losing. They kept getting beat. They keep getting beat, so they can't reach it. So they got to flip the rules. So they make MMA so that way now they can not just use their hands, they can kick and fight or whatever. And then we wind up dominating that. You know what I'm saying? Kimbo Slice and what you call it came dominating all of that. So then they ritually get rid of him, ritually get rid of all of the ones that's doing that, like Crazy Horse. They start going at him crazy. There's a MMA dude named Crazy Horse. And he was putting in a lot of work. And they got rid of him. So it's something with the DJing thing to me. It's like they couldn't be like we came up with real DJs like Mixmaster Ice and you know what I'm saying? Who else? Scratch. You know what I'm saying? DJ Scratch and
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like JMJ. Like we came up with DJs was like the main dudes, and then the rappers was there to support the DJ. But when the devil came and saw that he can get more out of control if he flipped the dynamic, where he make the rapper the main thing, and then the DJ towards the back, and then allegedly phase the DJ out, then he could get rid of that skill that we innately had. Like like at one point, every rapper had a DJ. Excuse me, every MC had a DJ. When rappers were referred to as MCs, they all had DJs. Once they started becoming rappers, the DJ was not important anymore. And so the DJs had to get into other shit. Like, remember, like Ron G, when he was coming up?
Yeah.
Ron G and
that's when DATs were coming in. People started using the DATs and all that. They tried to replace the DJ with the DATs.
Yes. But the DJ also, it was like a guild. Like they had skills where they could actually cut, mix, fade. You know what I'm saying? Do all of that. To me, it seemed like once they was able to separate the rapper and the DJ, they was able to really get people to focus more on being a mouthpiece and not the engineer, not the person creating the music. And so the DJing got flipped into almost downgraded. It's like you had to be a producer that happened to DJ. You know what I mean? And then you produced the rapper. But I feel like that happened because we had such a monopoly on it that they couldn't do nothing with it. So they almost had to con us from dealing with it. So that way our skills kind of fall down. So it slows the music down enough for them to catch up. And then when they still couldn't do it, what happened was the Asians took it. The Asians and the Europeans started doing the DJing, just like the breakdancing and the graffiti. And then they phased all of that into phasing out the turntables with this new shit where they come in with the CDs.
Exactly, yeah, fake DJing and all this, yeah.
Yeah, you know, you got the fake fade and DJ. Then I start seeing the rise of all of these females that seem to come out of nowhere with it. And they not mixing, they not scratch, like they not DJs the way I remember.
Yeah, Paris Hilton.
Thank you.
Exactly, Paris Hilton, all that. And then the stripper DJs. That's a whole nother thing.
Yo, then the
stripper
next
DJs.
shit. Then
it's like regular women can't get gigs anymore because they got to compete with women that are topless. So then it's like, yo. You know, and that's
for real, son.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons I started the United Turntablists Guild, because there was so much discrimination. It's like, you know, sisters that are like, yo, you know, I got my skills, you know, I like to rock, you know, these big jacket, you know, like, oh, you know, they want women to, you know, roll up there showing their skin and all that.
Yes, they got to be straight naked. Or like that guy that you put on blast.
Exactly. You know,
like that guy you put on blast that always would have the black chicks next to him stripping and shit while he playing the whack ass records.
Exactly. A-Track, Diplo, both of them. A-Track had butt naked sisters at a show, and Diplo had a sister on his right next to his thing, like a prop, doing a headstand with the bottle of Henny next to her. Like, oh, I got my Henny, I got my black woman on her head doing a spin with her legs spread, and look, I'm DJ, and now he's he's worth like 25 million.
Yeah, but I heard like 25 million on some trafficking shit though. I heard they just got him on some trafficking though.
Oh yeah, Bass Nectar, exactly. I just dropped I'm in my second half of that lecture. I'm gonna drop, I'm dropping that Bass Nectar lecture. Yeah, Bass Nectar. He was one of the hugest, probably maybe the biggest EDM artist. You know, up there with just all the Tiesto, all those other artists.
Right.
Yeah, he got he hasn't gotten arrested yet. It's just they just put out the federal human trafficking.
Yeah, the warrant.
Yeah, exactly. He's basically like a new manifestation of the Who, Pink Floyd, all those guys back in the day, because like with all the Me Too stuff, people aren't talking about the fact that David Bowie, all those cats,
all of them
were underage girls back in the day. So he was all of them are pedophiles. He was reliving that, like he was basically the new Metallica, the new top icon, the archetype, that steel rock and roll type of archetype. But you're right. Every generation they find some new way. Tell me who every new generation finds some way to rechange the names and all that stuff. And that's also what's interesting. I've done some lectures on the fact that genres in general usually are not even about the music. Usually it's a racial classification.
Right. It's always race.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Nationality, race. And like let's say you take Aaliyah, Marvin Gaye, it's like, their music is totally different, but they put them in the same group. It's like, oh, it's R&B. So with us, they amalgamate things that are totally different. And then with people that are doing something that's very similar, they'll be like, oh, this is progressive trance. Oh, this is
innovative.
Progressive northern German trance. This is southern minimal. But really, it's like, no, it's just another name to say techno. But then they create these genres, and then they basically make rooms in the rave. So it's like the rave has like 20 different rooms in it, and then it's like, okay, 19 of those rooms get to be Caucasian artists, and then that one room and be like, oh, soulful house, and then it's like, okay, so then the black artists can only be in that one room. It's like, oh, put them in like soulful house, like reggae stuff, jazz, or rap, and that's it. That's it. If you don't have a lot of times, if you don't have a Caucasian DJ, like my homie Warrior Queen, I had booked her, and she was telling me like, yeah, if she doesn't get gigs, like she has big dubstep hits and all types of hits, and nobody books her on her own, they only book her unless it's like, oh, she's in the front and then she's got a, you know, a car in the back.
Right, because they just want to keep us as props, like mannequins.
Exactly.
Like Kanye said, they want us all wrapped up in styrofoam. Like that's what they want, bro. Like they have no control over creativity because they have no soul, so they don't create nothing. They can only regurgitate.
And leading on that note of like soullessness and all that type of stuff. It's funny. I asked Ornate Coltrane. I was at the Montreux Jazz Festival. I was DJing for my homie M. Saeed from Anti-Pop Consortium,
right?
And he brought me out to the Montreux Jazz Festival. I was DJing for him, and that same weekend, Ornette Coleman was on the thing, and I got to ask him. I asked him about the difference between, like, I asked him about soul music. You know, they always say, oh yeah, black music, soul music. And I was like, well, you know, what is the opposite of soul music, and can there be soulless music? You know what I'm saying? Just like the whole idea of, you know, empty avatars and things like that. I kind of want to transition that. I want to kind of start getting into today we can talk about I really wanted to talk about, you know, like different dimensions, you know, afterlife, you know, different earth models, different universe models, you know, as they relate to, you know, different parts of history and different mythological traditions, to modern science, to you know, ancient science, and all things like that. So, you know, that's a great you know, segue into it. You know, soulless music versus so-called soul music. You know, what I noticed that's really interesting is that when you hit the black keys on the piano, most soul music is mostly black keys in the piano. And then most of the European music is mostly white keys in the piano.
White keys.
Mixed keys is usually Middle Eastern music. When you have music, when it's like, oh, it's a good balance of white keys and black keys, it's like, oh, okay, those are the middle kind of the sounds that we attribute to you know ancient Moorish music, Middle Eastern music, you know, and all those types of sounds. When it's more of a balanced thing, you know, because it's like the Motown sound and all that stuff. Most of that's all black keys. If you go to Beatles albums, a lot of that stuff is mostly white keys. Like, yeah, exactly. It'd be like, you know,
because most of that Beatles music and stuff is all on the devil's note.
Oh, exactly. Those.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all on the devil's note. Whereas all of our music after James Brown started on the one.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of us will come in on, like, there's certain rappers that can't come in on 4 bars.
Oh yeah.
They need like a 4-bar lead in because of whatever their cadence is or how they do it. You know what I mean? Just like there's certain singers that could only sing in certain keys. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't until I was, in my opinion, the expansion of the voice that to me started like towards the end of the so-called Motown era, and then now exploding into what became like the 60s, the late 60s into 70s sound. So that way by the late 70s, the basis of all of the music that we would do would be based on that. So like most of the music that we grew up listening to as young, like our generation, I'm 73. You know what I mean? 79. So anybody between like 73, 83, right? To me, we're the last real human generation. Because we were the generation that existed before the onset of technology.
Exactly.
But then we were able to see it coming. But we were still so human that we didn't invest so much in that shit that we would stop doing human shit. That didn't happen until 2000.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? When they digitized us. Because if you do the knowledge, that was around the time that the army stopped using basic camouflage and started using digital camouflage.
Oh yeah, like bathing ape and all that. Yeah, like those
bro.
patterns, yeah.
Right after the 80s, they went out of the real, because the foliage that the real camouflage was meant to enact was now being overwritten by this fake reality that they're creating with the chemtrails and the this and the that. So with the amount of technologies that they was going to start using, they needed to start to digitize everybody and start putting everybody in a binary situation. You You know what I mean? And then the music was reflective of that as well, because we remember growing, like I remember the blackout in 77. I remember the next day and maybe the week after that, it was like a block party every day. Wow. Everybody had equipment. Everybody came, like, you know what I'm saying? Like niggas that I didn't even know knew. Everybody had equipment. Everybody was a DJ. Everybody had a mic. Everybody, it was like block party just exploded between, I would say, like 77 when the shit happened to like 85. It was just, music was just everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like at least where I was at in Brooklyn and Harlem and places, you know?
Taking out Brooklyn.
I was all over Crown Heights, specifically Crown Heights for me, like by New York and Nostrand, Franklin and Bedford, you know what I mean? New York and Union, like I was all over that shit. Bed-Stuy, like I even lived in places like where it was like no black people, like Bensonhurst, Bay Ridge, you know what I mean? Because like when you live in Brooklyn, at one point you pretty much live all over. And then in seeing like how it started to progress, like I was saying, like everybody was that. And then it was like the pinnacle of the rap thing where the DJs was bringing the rappers in. And then it was like the switch. It was like they hit the switch with NWA. And then it was like, and I don't want to put it all on them, like niggas wasn't killing and shooting each other prior to them. That's not true. But I would say it was not marketed. People like me in Brooklyn we didn't even know a Compton existed. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even know that type of level of violence, organized violence, even existed like that. You understand what I'm saying? Because in New York, where we grew up, hip hop, it was gangs up until hip hop. The hip hop,
and the thing was too is it was lighthearted, like with the, like if you see in Wild Style, you know, they had, you know, Rambo Z had a shotgun in it. You know, you know, they had that group with the, you know, they had the Tommy guns, but it was like a prop.
Yeah, because
it was a Tommy gun, it was a fake. You know, like they were like being 1920s gangsters.
Yeah, because the rumbling shit deaded after 77, because everybody got paid, everybody got equipment. Everybody now has something they could focus their shit on. So even if you wasn't rapping, even if you wasn't DJing, you could carry the crates, you could carry the records, you could make me get on the mic, you could bring the barbecue, you could bring the beer, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you bring the linoleum. Exactly. Now niggas can actually get up in crews, get on their Adidas suits, battle each other. Prior to that, it was all fights. It was all people getting stabbed up, knuckled up. Like when I was little, there was no Crips, Bloods, none of that in New York. They didn't get there until like way later, till like the late 80s. You know what I'm saying? Early 90s. And they wasn't even really popping until like late 90s.
Exactly, yeah.
Into 2000. So hip hop in my era deaded all the gangs. The gangs when I was growing up was like the Jolly Stompers, the Black Spades, the you know, the Angels of Medina. Like it was like these niggas was serious. You know what I mean? And hip hop came, that all switched up, and then it became about like your crew. Then you have, so it's like the gangs turned into like rapping crews, music crews. That's how what you call it started. The Mastodon Committee. There's a world famous Supreme Team. Not the drug dealers, the musicians. You know what I'm saying? They had a lot of them. This is how a lot of DJ shows came, like Special K and Teddy Ted, like P Fine and them that brought. I remember Flavor Flavors used to be the guest host on the DJ show that they used to have. I could only catch it back then. You used to have on your dial, and you like right in between, and on the right time you could get it. So I had to have, you know what I'm saying? Wow. You used to have to put the hanger out to get the reception and shit. So them like P Fine,
like VHF or VHF?
Oh, more. You talking about
remember UHF and VHF?
The UHF shit. Yeah, more. That's what I used to have, man. That's when we used to make pause tapes. Like you see here a beat before there was a drum machine. You used to take the little beat tape it, tape it, pause it, and by the end you got a whole beat. So that's how we came up. You know what I'm saying? So we had, it was almost like we were creating the music while it was creating us. You know what I'm saying? And then halfway through, they had that meeting, and then they deaded it, and then it became about the criminality of the music.
And let's definitely talk about that meeting, because nobody talks about it. I had been planning to do a lecture on that meeting specifically, and I was doing research online. I'm like, why is there no article? You know, like maybe there's like
more they burying that because they was all there. Because they was all there, more. They was all there. All them niggas was there. And none of them niggas got up and said, nah, man, I'm not with that. I'm not going to sell out my people. I'm not going to destroy the music. Not one of them niggas got up and said that. You know what they did? They was like, word, you right, Jimmy. We'll do it. The only person that I know ever really spoke about it was Kwame. Because he was there.
Wow.
Big up to Kwame. Because real talk, me and him used to go to art. Well, I met him back in high school when he used to go to Bertram. He used to go to Mary Bertram. So I used to go to art and design. So at the time when I was there, Prodigy and Havoc was there.
Oh wow!
But they was younger than me. I was like a sophomore. They was like just freshmen. But back then he was Prodigy, blessed the dead. They used to call him Pee Wee. And he used to dance.
Oh wow!
And then Havoc, they were really good artists, drawing wise and shit. Wow, and then Havoc was real good at making beats. So I was the one me and my people used to be cutting in school, robbing the SO store for the markers and shit, like doing all of the criminal shit. They was little kids, you know, he was little kids though. So he would be seeing us wilding. He'd be like, yo, what's up? I'm like, nah, son, go to school, do you know what I mean? Stay. Who I used to hang with, we used to do that. Kirk Jones, aka Sticky Fingers. He used to be down with it, but he used to dance back then too. This back when village shit was popping. Remember when house was popping in the hood? When niggas wearing polka dot shirts.
Well, you know, because
the big shoes.
Yeah, all the overlap. You know, like the when Jungle Brothers were really popping. You know.
Yeah, bro.
House hits
Jungle Brothers, word. Word, you know what I mean? Like that's what I mean. Like that type of vibe in the game. We didn't know that these dudes was being molested. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't know that was the other side of the Zulu shit. You dig what I'm saying? But thankfully, because there was such a diversity in how MCs and musicians would put stuff out, I could listen to JB's. Because JB's, while I was listening to them, I would be listening to dudes from like LA, other people like JB's. Because if you listen to JB's, then you listen to De La. You know what I mean? If you listen to De La, then of course you're gonna listen to Tribe and all of that. But I was also into like the West Coast De La niggas, like Divine Styler. I don't know if you remember him.
Oh yeah.
There's another dude, Quincy Jones' son. No, Quincy Jones. There was a guy named Justin Warfield. He had a song called "Season of the Vic." Back in the days, there was another dude. There was a lot of them hippie type niggas, and they the ones that kind of like opened up for people like Souls of Mischief, Freestyle Fellowship. You know what I mean? Like this type of shit I was listening to coming up. So in New York, though, New York purists, they didn't listen to nothing that wasn't New York, though. So that's what you can put me on the outs with some of my peoples, but they wouldn't want to listen to nothing else. So I'm coming to them because my dad, blessed the dead, he used to have a publicity company. So I grew up and he used to write for all of the teeny bopper magazines like Word Up, Right On. Wow. He ran all of that. He ran and did all of that. And I was right there with him coming up. So I would be around all these niggas. You know what I mean? Like I would be seeing what was going on. And he would tell me little things back in the days that now I realize, oh, he was really protecting me. Like they had a big Zulu Nation thing one day. And he was like, nah, you ain't coming to me with that. He like, nah, you don't need to be around a Zulu Nation like that. It's my dad. And that's not even his era, but he knew. You know what I'm saying? Same thing. He used to do publicity for Immature group. Yeah. Right? So one day after coming back, he was like, yeah, you know, because he was telling me, yeah, he just got the contract and he was about to go on tour with them because he was doing the publicity with them. So he was gonna come back to New York, pick me up, and we was gonna go. Came back to New York. I'm ready to go. This nigga was like, nah. He's like, nah, you're not coming with me with that. He said, you don't need to be nowhere around Chris Stokes, immature, none of them. I said, why? What happened? He like, I don't need to get into people's business, but I'm just telling you, I'm not having you around them because I ain't trying to go to jail. This is what this nigga told me, but I don't know. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this has always been a part, like we were so into music that that's all we thought it was. But music is only like maybe 5%, maybe 3.5% of the music industry. Everything else is what you got to deal with just to get the music. You know what I mean?
And you know,
it's not worth it.
You know a way that you can prove that mathematically is that if right now, why can't Pharrell get on the radio? If Pharrell can't get on the radio, and he has millions of dollars, and he's been on the radio for years, all these gold records, platinum records, if he can't get on the radio, you know what I'm saying? If Guns N' Roses can't get on the radio, all they're pulled, then that means it's not about the music. It's not about having the
glass ceiling
marketing. It's clearly something else, right?
It's politics and it's control, because music stopped being about music when hip hop came out. It was always about control. But what hip hop did was it took the control away from everybody and brought it right back to the hood. Then they realized that it was such a tight-knit community that they couldn't get in. So what they had to do was get us to slow it down or not rock with it the way that we was rocking with it. So what they started to do was, again, only support the criminality in the music. So all the niggas that was extorting niggas, these are the niggas that they was going to giving deals to get artists to come in under their label. You understand? That's where Baby came from. You understand? How is it that Baby got all this money and all the rest of these niggas is broke, dead, in jail, turned out, gay, but he ain't doing nothing that Berry Gordy ain't do. He ain't doing nothing that the dude that ran Chess Records ain't do. He ain't doing nothing like all the orgies and shit these niggas is doing. Do you know that Little Richard song Tutti Frutti on Rudy? The original lyrics to that was about him greasing up a dude to put his penis in his behind. Wow, interesting. It was Tutti Frutti, get that booty. Tutti Frutti, get that booty. If it's too loose or whatever, get the grease. Like, and he flipped the lyrics. But check this out. Same thing with the other song. He had a song about tossing salad. But he changed the lyrics.
I'm gonna research that. That's deep. So well, check this out. You know, I noticed, like, because, you know, I had just seen that what was it, that Aretha Franklin thing.
Oh man, that shit where they got the chick that played Harriet in it.
The whole thing about her dad molesting her and possibly having a baby with her, and I had heard about that. I was like, what? That's crazy. I'm like, how is it that all of these celebrities have this, you know, this torment? You know, it's like Billie Holiday was, was a prostitute, you know, all this stuff. Like, it seems like all of them from day one, everybody that they're signing has all of them over their head. You know what I'm saying? Some type of, like, you know. So I'm like, why would Aretha Franklin be propelled to such greatness? You know, given with all that craziness and people knowing that back in the day, and even fast forward to remember the Killing Me Softly, the dude that directed that video. He won the MTV Music Award. He won the MTV Music Award, and Lauryn Hill and all those people, everybody, they knew about it at the time, and they had to be like, oh, watch him go up on stage and accept the award and be like, hey, thank you, everybody. For everybody that doesn't know, the guy that directed the Killing Me Softly video for the Fugees. He won an MTV Music Award for that video, and he was raping his daughters. He had babies with like 3 of his daughters, or maybe he had it was multiple daughters. Some of them sued him. Some of them got him arrested later for other extra charges later, but you know, he got mad years, but he was delivering the babies himself in a mortuary.
Yes. Yes, because that's a ritual.
He was delivering the babies in a mortuary.
Because that's the ritual, bro. I'm gonna take it inside because my phone about to die.
But yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah, that's a ritual, bro.
You know, and nobody's talking about that. You never see documentaries talking about that. There's so much you never see people talking about. You never see people talking about that.
You're never gonna see that, bro. You're never gonna see that because that's what makes the industry work.
Multiple kids, it's like, yo, people knew, and it's like, did the people when he won that award? That's the thing. When he won the award, did they know? And they probably knew. And that's
they knew then. They knew when they was recording the video.
Oh, exactly.
They knew. They probably requested him because of that. Like that's where we get it twisted. Like when we gotta understand,
a lot of the directors in the industry, they're not even really doing anything. A lot of times they're just a friend of somebody, and then the DP's really doing it. You know?
Yes. And that's what it is with the same thing with the producers.
Yeah, and you were talking about the people. You were talking about the orgy stuff, you know, because when in high school, I had an internship with Dallas Austin's Rock.
Oh yeah, I remember that label.
Yeah,
I remember he had that label. He had Rowdy Records.
Yeah, Rowdy Records, and you know, even when in high school, I was hearing like, yeah, they have orgies up in that building and the thing. So, you know, the whole organized noise, everybody. You know, and you know the Atlanta scene, you know, because the Atlanta scene was so small at that point. It was only Dallas Austin and LaFace
and Jermaine Dupri.
Yeah, Jermaine Dupri. Yeah, exactly. It was only that little small thing. So, you know, everybody in Atlanta was like, yeah. And now Atlanta is like all turns out.
It's the #1 mecca outside of Hollywood for rampant, human trafficking and sexually transmitted diseases.
Exactly.
But remember, they was prepping everybody for this from Freaknik. Remember?
Oh yeah, I was in high school and Freaknik would be happening all around me. Yeah, I was there.
Remember? And remember, there was that whole push to get all of these black people to move to Atlanta, to kind of overdo what they did because Atlanta was cursed because of that child murder shit that was going down, which we found out later. They was cutting the tips of the boys' penises off to get the interferon because Atlanta, again, going all the way back to MLK. Anytime you see the word MLK, that's another way of saying MK Ultra. Just so you know. So MLK, who was an MK Ultra product, they used to refer to him, Ralph Abernathy, Coretta, and all of them as the Atlanta Mafia. And they used to do cocaine rituals and all types of shit.
Yeah, you heard about James Brown's manager? I mean, no, I'm sorry. No, his former finance, the head of his fundraising department. A Caucasian woman, and she came out and said like he put a gun to her head. And raped her and
multiple times.
Choked up, and Al Sharpton would come through with a briefcase full of millions of dollars, and they were all gangsters, and they were all.
Al Sharpton was his enforcer at one point.
Yeah, she broke like you can find my homie. Shout out Infinite Lives. My homie Infinite Lives.
Let me get my plug. Hold up.
He sent me that link, and I was like, "What?" I was shocked. And this was James Brown. She was the head of James Brown's finance department, like his fundraising department. But yeah, all that stuff kind of was very, very shocking. So it's like, you know, there's all these things that are, you know, right underneath the surface, and it's like, okay, you know, why is it all this extreme stuff happening, you know, within the Black community and, you know, within Black music? How come, like, you never see stuff like that? You don't really hear that stuff happening with like Mexican music, with Caucasian music.
Nah,
on the radio,
but it be happening.
All the Black music is all like kill, sex, like hyper stuff. And people will be like, oh, you know, that's just, you know, Black music. But that's like, yo, that's basically saying that's who we are. You know, other people aren't doing that because, you know, it's like if you turn on the Mexican radio, it's all peace, love songs, all the Tejano. I never heard
all whining and shit,
and stuff like that. But you know what's crazy in Atlanta? they're playing Little Durk on the radio, and Little Durk shot up the Varsity. The Varsity is like a Atlanta landmark, like a famous burger place.
Yes.
Him and King Von had shot up the Varsity, and so it's like he's a mass shooter.
Yes.
That got arrested in Atlanta for shooting in public, shooting at somebody in a lot of a famous Atlanta landmark. Yeah. And he's on the radio every day, 10 times a day, 20 times, 30 times a day. They're playing that Little Durk,
because more all of these people, what we have to understand, man, is that just because they appear one way doesn't mean that they're anything other than what they are. Most of these rappers, most of these musicians, most of these actors are all psychopaths. They're sociopaths.
Yeah, like Kevin. Kevin Gates, he punched a woman in the face. She was just a
but he could be an FTM though.
Kevin Gates.
But that's what I'm trying to say. Like,
and he punched her in the face and knocked her out on stage, and he went to jail for 3 years and came out, and people were like, yeah, Kevin Gates. I'm like, what? That's crazy. It's even bigger now. You see, he's even bigger. His new
more because stuff is even that's bigger. The agenda. And then like, that's what I'm trying to say.
NBA YoungBoy's tattoo on his arm, like lovers, and NBA YoungBoy beat up his girlfriend in the stairwell on camera. You know what I'm saying? And everybody, and he's in jail now. You see that he just got arrested for federal charges.
That's right, because all of these guys are agents. They are puppets. They are psychologically broken. They are easily manipulated. Anyone that goes into the entertainment industry, you have to understand there's something within you that needs the validation from something or somebody external. So there's a need for the individual artist to be accepted in the venue that they're pursuing. And so what the industry does is it needs more meat for the grinder. So it needs you to depreciate yourself, become a wanton, so that way, whatever it promises you, you can get in. So some people are promised that they can blow up if they do this or that. Some people blow up and then are approached and say, now you have to do this or that. Some people are straight swapped. They just take the individual because they know they can't control them and then swap them and put something else into place. And we don't know because we never knew this person growing up. And even if we did, you gotta understand these industry plants are just like agents. They grow them in the community just so that way you can't say, nah, he wasn't like that. I knew him. I grew up with him. I knew her. I grew up with her. Right? Just so that way they can get you emotionally caught up in this individual. So whatever they do to him, you're emotionally invested. And now you're crying, you're depressed, you're whatever's happening because you think this nigga's dead and they done swap them out. And now he is now a she. And now she's coming back out and a whole nother music genre. And now you bigging that up like, oh, okay, this new artist is great. When really it's the same person. But this person, these people are also trapped in the game. They can't get out. Once you start making that out of control dough with them people, especially with no nationality, especially with no knowledge of yourself, especially no belief in the higher self, especially with no home training, and especially not having the confidence in yourself to know that you can make it yourself. The other lie they tell us is that all of this, if you work hard, if you keep it up, don't let nobody tell you, you'll be able to break through and be here where I am too. That's a damn lie. It's a lie. What they not telling you is everybody that's on the screen is related to somebody that's already been on the screen.
Exactly.
You are dealing with generational agents. Why would they risk the plan on somebody they don't know? That don't make sense. Why kill this nigga when this dude is bringing me more souls?
Exactly. And we can get into Hollywood magic, as far as, like Jack Parsons stuff, like the early days, like early days of Hollywood magic, because now it's like Hollywood is the, number one thing that is on the average person's mind in the world. Like, obviously in America it is, but then the farther you go out, the concentric circles of other countries, it's like people are still like, oh, what's Kim Kardashian doing? What's the whole Hollywood thing? Is like, it's clearly it's like a pantheon. You know what I'm saying? It's
yes, it is a court. It's the court for the king, and that's where the peasants go to see the nobles, the fake nobles. And they all are there as archons to support the court, the king, because they're dependent upon a pension that comes from the king. The king in this regard is Lucifer. You see what I'm saying? So they all are a part of his kingdom. I don't care what these niggas is telling you. I don't care how many 5% chains they wear, how Islam, all of this word, I'm about the black man, no. When you're down with them people, that's it, bro. That's it.
Right. You heard about X-Clan. On that note, you heard about X-Clan, right? That they're saying now this woman's coming out and saying X-Clan.
Yo, son, I heard about that. I told you, I grew up on Franklin Avenue. So all the videos you see, that's filmed right on my block. All them X-Clan videos, that was on my block. That's right around the corner at the rec center that Dr. Green used to run. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in the hood, so I grew up watching. I've seen Sugar Shaft. I've seen Brother J. I remember as a shorty now trying to sneak into Latin Quarter. I'm not even supposed to be outside the house, but I'm sure I'm a youngster, hip hop. I'm gonna get into the quarters. You understand? And I'm going there. I remember when this nigga Paradise used to work the door.
Oh, wow.
When he used to have Jerry curls. Dig what I'm saying? Like, this what I'm trying to say. Like, these niggas all come from somewhere else. It's not like he just popped up. Boom. So when the X-Clan stuff's happened, I remember hearing about the stuff that these niggas was doing back in the days when I was a kid. Back when ISIS, remember they used to have ISIS, Rebel Soul, the chick, the light-skinned chick, Lynn Q.
And their crew.
Right. Around that time is when I started hearing about all of that. You dig what I'm saying? But again, I have been hearing this from different sources, not just with X-Clan, but like in the whole industry. This is what all these niggas was doing. Because this is what the Motown niggas was doing. There's a page on YouTube. Big up the sister. Ashley Says So. Look at this sister's page. Check this sister's page out, yo. Definitely. She go all the way in on the Hollywood scandals. Okay. And she do it from the perspective, not of just talking, crap, but really letting us know. Because what I like about it is that she relates it in a way to take the deification off the eyes of these people. Because we grew up listening to these people. Our mothers and our fathers emulated these people. You understand? Emulated them, all because they sang good music. But these were not good people. You understand what I'm saying? I was reading the Ray Charles biography. Ray Charles said that when he was on tour, he was wild with the sex and all of that. But it wasn't until he hooked up on the gospel tour that he really got busy. He said the gospel people was doing everything, having sex with animals, having sex orgies, men with men, women with women, all types of shit. These are the gospel singers. Because remember, where does all of this come from? It's all coming from the need to control the spirit force, the soul of the original people. Our bodies is just the secondary aspect. But what they really want is our souls, our spirits. And what better way to do that than to promise you something perpetually, like fame, like glamour. And what better way to get you to reduce your guard down, to be our thing, because we used to heal ourselves with the music. We would get the actual carbon, because all that shit is rubber, so all that's melanin, and we would put the record on and we would sit down and zone out on the covers and just listen to the shit. And then all of our problems would go away to the point we would get up and feel better. So they had to dead that. They had to stop that. So to the point now, you can't even touch the music. It's not. Where is it?
Exactly.
It's in the air. You You can't feel it. You can't touch it. You can't hold a CD. You can't hold an album cover. Nothing.
Nobody's playing instruments, right? Nobody plays instruments anymore. Nobody knows how to make music anymore on their own. You know, without the machine. Most of these people couldn't make any music.
No. So that's what I'm trying to say. We're the last generation to remember music before rap. I can listen to a song right now. I can only hear 3 seconds of the song, and I know if the whole song whack or not. I know if the whole song is bullshit, and also where they got the song from, where the original come from. Oh, that's the meters. Oh, that's the bar case. Oh, he sampled the horns from Miles Davis, the bass line from Barry White, and the drum beat from Clyde Stubblefield. You know what I mean? Like, this is where we are. That's why nobody could get over on us unless we let them. You see what I'm saying? And so what they did with niggas was they only fostered the criminal element to such a degree that criminals were the only ones that could maintain a career in the industry. And once you become a criminal, now you have the right to criminalize other artists. That's why all these black musicians and black record owners and labels was just as bad as the white ones, if not worse. Hanging niggas out of the fucking balcony because you don't want to give them their publishing and all of that. Puffy, these niggas, Puffy and Suge Knight, they nothing. They nothing compared to people like Gordy and Davis and
exactly, they were modeling everything after them.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. So where's the progression?
That's what's interesting too, because like with Chicago, everybody's talking about, you know, the modern black gangs that are there, but Chicago was always gang warfare, but it was always it was the Italian gangs, you know, and that's a good segue too into like control and mind control and things like that. Because what's interesting with a lot of the trap stuff that's on the radio now is that I just heard a song yesterday. It shocked me yesterday. I was like, what? He was like, yo, I'll F your mama, I'll F your sister. He's like, yo, I'll F your whole family. He literally said to like nephews, nieces. Like he was getting so personal with. I was like, wow, that's crazy. In the chorus, you know what I'm saying? And it's
and it's just now we waking up. We waking up now.
Yeah, you saw Jay-Z.
I was listening to all that shit.
You saw Jay-Z apologize for Big Pimpin'.
Yeah. Yesterday. Thanks, buddy. After you criminalized 5 generations. Thanks, bro.
And he's a
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. But what I'm saying though, bro, great. You'll apologize to Jay-Z. You'll apologize to the people for that. But are you going to apologize to all of the niggas who's publishing it you done stole? You going to apologize for all of the people that you done dined out because you work for the police? You a fed. You work for the police. Your business partner is a known informant who used to push mad cocaine. Matter of fact, all these niggas used to go to orgies at the Kit Kat Club. You know who used to run? You know who owned the Kit Kat Club? Ghislaine Maxwell. You know who Ghislaine Maxwell was?
Yeah, Epstein,
yeah. So don't think these niggas wasn't on the island. People forget. Chris Tucker name was on the manifest going to Epstein Island.
So you're talking about the Kit Kat Club? It's like
that's where Jay-Z stabbed Un.
It's small, right?
It was like right in Midtown and shit.
A bar. It was kind of like a bar.
Yeah, that's the club, right? That's the club with Jay-Z stabbed Un.
People used to do music there too, right?
That's where they would have all the parties.
My homie played there. Yeah. I went there once. I went there because my homie
that spot was owned by Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein. That's where Trump met Melania.
Wow, that's crazy.
Okay, let's really keep it real. Because again, all of these people, the industry, Hollywood is all part of the same thing. Everybody talk about the military industrial complex, but you don't talk about the entertainment industrial complex, the medical industrial complex. These are all the same thing. And the thing is, they all run under the same auspices, which is control, mitigate, sacrifice, and redux, meaning we do it all again. So this year, when it was after Baby, then it'll be Suge. After Baby and Suge, or before Baby and Suge, Jay Prince. You see what I'm saying? All these niggas is down with it. That's all I'm saying. They're all part of the brotherhood. They all go to the same orgies. They all have sex with the same people. They all got the same herpes simplex, because that's the demon. The demon is the herpes simplex, because it's an entity that lives.
Yeah, it's a little serpent, a little RNA, RNA serpent. It's a living, it's a almost an infinite.
It's another version of what they call the proprius quill. The proprius quill is the little, it's a little nodule that grows on the head of the horned demon. And they pop it out and they extract the worm. The worm is the thing they put in the eye. That's why that eye is thing, and why that eye, the left eye, is always above the right, because that is where they put it in. So that is now the eye that that's the only eye that they see from that point on. Dig what I'm saying? Like, because now the entity, the entity, which is like a trichina worm, which is like a herpes strain, is now
pork. Those, a lot of people don't realize. One bite of pork, a conventional oven can't even kill the worms in those trickier worms in the pork. You can't even, like, I think it has to, like the regular oven goes to like 500, right? And it's got to be like 800. I don't know what the number is. But
you might as well just eat a burnt piece of charcoal than rather eat a pork. To the point that in order for you to really eat it with none of the worms in it, it would just be a burnt piece of like wood.
Exactly.
So what's the point?
Exactly.
But that's what I'm saying. That is why they have sex.
Anywhere in the body. That's what people don't realize, is that people think it just stays in the stomach and comes out. It's like, they can go in the eyes, the brains, maggot brain, all that stuff's real.
Look it up, bro. There's too much stuff on the internet where you could just look up pig maggots in a man's brain. You could just look that up. But what I'm saying is, in order for you to get on that level with them in that industry, that's how they do it, because that's how they control. And what I'm saying is that these Freemasonic orders, these Eastern Star orders, these Greek fraternities, these Webelos, these brownies, all of the stuff, all that's baby Freemasonry stuff to get you groomed enough to be ready to do it. Then in the Black community, after a certain age, you want some paper shit. Now they get you in Jack and Jill. They get you in the urban, not the urban league, what they call urban renewal projects. They get you in the cotillion circuit. They get you in all these different things. And then what winds up happening, like I said, is that you're now groomed. So now you join the police, Freemasonry is running rampant in that. You join the army, Freemasonry running rampant in that. And they're all down for the same agenda. So even though different lodges stuff will be different, it makes no difference in the instance, because all of Freemasonry in the Western context is based on a murder. Okay? It's all based on the murder of our illustrious ancestor, King Hiram, the Lord of Tyre, i.e. Carthage. That was established by an ancient black goddess named Dido, where we get the term Dido, where Dido get her name from. The white girl Dido, she get it actually from the real Dido, who was the black woman that helped found Carthage from ancient Phoenicia, okay? So the Freemasons, when they do their little rituals and stuff, and they talk about the killing or the sacrificial murder of Hiram, Hiram is symbolically the original man. So every man or every woman that joins up and goes through that ritual, you have already participated in the ceremonial murder of your ancestors. So from that point on, they got to keep getting you to do it. And keep getting you to sell your soul. Keep getting you. People think, I sell my soul and that's it. No, you got to keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. So great. You went to these rituals. That's cool. But we won't trust you until you go to these rituals. So now in these rituals okay, great, I got to have sex with men. Now I got to have sex with a dead body. Now I got to have sex with this. Now then all of that is on tape. And why? Because you don't have to do any of that. But if you make yourself believe you do, you do. Then what happens now is you've sullied your soul so much that you feel that you can't be redeemed. You see? And now you're locked in with these niggas for the rest of their life. Because they fooled you to believe that you are beyond redemption when you are the very manifestation of Allah, of the creator, of the generator, operator, destroyer, which is why they trying to get you to do this. All to put out a record, all to put out a single. Nigga, what? When you could just do that yourself? Come on, man. These niggas want to be down with it. They want to do that. Just like police become police so they can shoot people. These rappers get in this game because they want to corrupt niggas. They want to tell niggas that they ain't shit. They want to bash black women. They want to do it. They too good at it.
Exactly.
And we all guilty. Like Bitches Ain't Shit was a great song. Because it's true. You know what I'm saying? Like it's true. But it don't mean that after saying it and re-singing it over and over and over again, and then you wonder why you only attracted bitches, you know what I'm saying, that ain't shit. Like, think about it. Because you've been singing this into your life for 20 years. You understand? And look at the people who made the song. Half these niggas dead. Look at Snoop. You know what I'm saying? Look at Dre. You know what I mean? They'd already swapped him out. They'd have killed him. You know what I mean? Swapped him out after the aneurysm because they tried to get him with the wife. And when they couldn't get him with the wife.
Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre.
Because, you know, a lot of people are saying that he might have been poisoned. I did a whole lecture on some of his family. A family member came out. They're not saying who came out. They're saying that he might have been poisoned with rat poison.
Yeah, more they poisoned him. They poisoned him because this all came right when the wife was trying to go at him because there was some deal that was supposed to happen with Apple and he was supposed to sign on. He didn't want to do it. This is what they not talking about. Then what happened was the wife, that's right after that is when the wife came to divorce him and they was going back and forth with that. It looked like he was going to lose it all. Then he flipped it, had all of the proof that she was cheating, right?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, he was trying to get his leverage in the battle.
Got out that, got the leverage. She had to dead that. Then right after that, what happened? Hit him with the aneurysm, right? Boom. Then they wind up bringing him back to the crib, right? He looked like he was going to die. Then the next thing you know, you see him back in the crib now around a bunch of other niggas. But look at him in the middle. That's not Dre. Whenever they got a person and he's around you, and it's like this nigga can't ever be by himself, that's a clone. That's a clone. That's a life model decoy. That's some sort of robotoid. It's something else. You understand? Because the thing about it is these things are not, their science, as great as it is not perfected.
You know, it's interesting that like with remember when they got Saddam Hussein, they were like, you know, Saddam Hussein had, you know, 8 lookalikes, 10 lookalikes,
the doubles,
7 lookalikes. But then you would think like, you know, if I was the ruler of a country or the ruler of a, the ruler of a country, that makes sense. Like you would think, you know, every ruler of the country, like, hey, I'm not going to walk to Home Depot myself. I want to have my lookalike do that, or I'm going to have my lookalike do that thing. You know, a lot of people used to talk about, you know, the multiple Trumps. You know, Dick Gregory was always talking about.
They all have doubles, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes sense, you know, if you're at a certain level to be like, hey, I'm going to have these doubles. Because my homie was on tour with Eminem and Exhibit, and he was a videographer, and he was telling me about the Eminem double. They used to have an Eminem double that would stay on the tour bus, you know, have the haircut and be chilling with everybody, and then but the real Eminem was on an airplane, was on a jet, he wasn't even on the tour bus, you know, like Exhibit and everybody else, they were on the tour bus with the fake Eminem. But then the real Eminem was, you know, would meet them in that next city in his jet, you know what I'm saying? But the fake Eminem was there all the time, and so people would think that he was the real Eminem, but you know what I'm saying? So, you know, these doubles, thing is real.
When we finish, I'm going to send you a clip. I'm going to send you some clips of body double shit like that. So you can maybe show it in the joint, and you see what I'm talking about. All these niggas got
stuff to what we're saying.
All these dudes got doubles. We got doubles, bro. This is a double on you. Exactly. This is a double on me. Like a nigga a while ago, real talk. Some dude, I don't know who this person is. One day I woke up and this nigga said that I was a clone of Snoop Dogg. And then, and then, Then he said that I was playing Corday, Snoop's son, that I'm actually Corday as well. Then the nigga had a picture of my ear, like he put up the ear, and he pulled Corday ear up and Snoop ear up and shit. And I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, wow, I must have really made it. You know what I'm saying? When niggas are saying I'm a clone now, so I'm doing the knowledge to it. And then I'm like, whoa. And then once I read, because, I've been talking about this shit for years, you know what I'm saying? So then when I start researching the guy who was doing this thing or whatever, I start looking at some of the other stuff and he's doing, I'm like, you know what? Some of the shit this nigga is saying is on point. So then the nigga me, I'll go to the mirror like, well, damn, am I? I'm looking at myself like, nah, nigga, it could never be that. But when I say we have doubles, what I mean is they have social media. They have algorithms, and those algorithms have algorithms that are actually carrier waves that basically are there to kind of figure out and extrapolate any potential movements you could make. So the more you're on shit like TikTok dancing and shit, the more you're on these Twitter and this and that, they're creating these composite holographic clones of us. That they are actually trying to manipulate and get to the point where, God forbid, they can't do what they want to do or whatever. They could always bring this thing out. You know what I'm saying?
Like
but
the different stuff too, like all the deep fake. Like you saw that Tom Cruise deep fake. I thought it was real. I thought it was real. Yo, it's out in the sun. He's like at the golf course. I'm like, yo, that looks real.
Yo, and that's what I'm saying. So in this reality, that's what they've done. They've created it where you don't even know. So all you really have is your own integrity, your own self-worth, your own empathy to be able to put it out there and discern what is real and what is not. And you can only do that for yourself now. When you are now trying to involve other people in that, meaning you're trying to get people to see things from your perspective, you got to understand they cannot, because their perspective has never been theirs. Most of us people don't think for themselves. They have not been thinking for themselves for years. They only think they're thinking because the clone aspect of them is thinking. The clone that's been listening to bitches ain't shit for 20 years. The clone in them that's been thinking about how to be a dope boy and get money and fuck bitches and do all of this crazy shit. Always be about being low. All of the songs get low.
Exactly.
Get low,
deprecation.
Get money.
Deprecation. Exactly.
Yes.
That's a big part of
self-deprecation,
white power and colonialism and white power magic is the idea of deprecation. And what's interesting is, like, when you hit source code on like a web page and you hit source and it has you see everything. I remember I was looking at the source code and you see the actual word deprecation. Right. The word deprecation will be in it a million times, and I'm like, that's kind of interesting. And you're also talking about carrier waves and stuff. Another thing that's interesting I wanted to talk about was the radio and because we know the radio is an electromagnetic the electromagnetic spectrum, and radio is the color that's literally in the air. So it's like when they're playing that little Uzi Suicide song where he's like, "All my friends are dead. The edge, all my friends are dead." That's literally a color that's shining on our face, just like this white light shining on my face. Little Uzi is shining on my face. I'm making dinner. I'm washing dishes. I'm doing whatever. So even when I'm not hearing it, it's shining on my face. It's like, how do we know? We don't have the knowledge yet of the science of, like, how do we know? There hasn't been enough research that's out there to know, what effects the actual radio waves can have on, because people talk about 5G,
we see it,
but people aren't even talking about the actual radio waves. You know what I'm saying? Because radio waves,
when you look at a lot of these, when you look at a lot of these clips where you see black women and black people just attacking each other, going crazy. Man, a couple of years ago they was going crazy, fighting each other with Popeye sandwiches and shit. That's because they have frequency fences around those places and stuff like that. And the thing is, you having a Popeye sandwich might not do it, but you standing in line around a bunch of niggas with their phones that's all receiving the same ping, that's reverberating out of their pockets into them. You on the line, you waiting, you feeling more and more agitated. You seeing that these niggas is not like that. You're getting close to your food. You smelling it. You smelling it. It's not even real food that you smelling, but it smells so good. And they put you in a position to become that. And then when you listen, or when you look at a lot of look at those clips, when you see these black people go crazy, start beating each other in mass like that. Look around and see where the towers is at. I've been looking at a lot of these tapes, and when I look at them, there's always a tower or something in the area. Even if it's in a person's phone, they got niggas that'll be there and they will look like that they online, black man online, and he's actually working for the DOD, and he's there to trigger the whole shit. And then he's there, use his phone, trigger you go crazy. You start beating each other. This is what's keeping the pervasive idea that we're animals to them. Because only animals, not even animals, no other race creates a music to dance to that debases them and make them look less human. Nobody does that.
Exactly. Ridicule, like all these things.
Nobody does that.
You know?
Nobody does that.
Thing too, we could talk about the history of all that, you know, as far as, you know, within the occupation of, you know, just the wars on us ancient Black Americans, the occupation through that warfare, the music kind of represents, like I was just saying with the radio, kind of represents the ether. Whereas like, even though they control the land, as far as colonialism, it's like they control the land, but it's like, but Black folks, Black Americans specifically, control the ether of the world as far as techno,
and they not using it.
Hip hop, jungle,
and that's the fifth element.
All the genres, all the ether is when people and phonetics and the languages we created. You know, we created all these languages. It's like, you know, they control the land, we control the ether. So it's like when I kind of want to ask you about your thoughts on Jung and Freud, and when they first, you know, the Neanderthals hybrid kind of discovered psychology, you know, and when they tried to use that, you know, to everything that's created today,
to justify,
say that everything today, as far as all this mental programming and stuff, kind of is based in coming out of the Freud tradition and the Jung.
All of it comes from that devil. And remember, Freud was not only a pedophile, he was incestuous. He also was a Satanist. He also was a part of the Order of the Golden Dawn. He also there's so much you got. He participated in a lot of those Theosophic Society orgies and shit. Like, he's a real piece of shit. Anyway, though,
did he overlap with Blavatsky and
yeah, or
was she before him? I mean, like
Blavatsky was the linchpin. So what Blavatsky did, what happened was this: there were no Caucasian people running nothing in the world prior to 1900. So after the Black Tsars, the Moorish Tsars of what we call Russia today, freed up those 35 million Caucasian slaves they had. Those were the Caucasian slaves that came and peopled all of the countries in Europe and the United States and stuff, and started to repopulate and move out all of the so-called Black nobilities and Black people that were already there, and then adopted those languages, exiled the Black European monarchs that were now under the phase of what they call new imperialism in Africa. Where now they're in Africa after the Belgian conference, because this wasn't no white people. This is the other problem with us. We give white people so much credit. And in reality, our biggest problem is each other. And these rich Black nobles of the ancient Black nobilities of Europa decided that they was going to get together and expand their jurisdiction out of Europa into Africa. And then that's when they started. Lord Henry Stanley Morton, the one that went there as a great colonist explorer for Britain, whatever, he darker than me. He about my wife complexion. Maybe he about Khalid Muhammad complexion, blessed the dead. The nobles that was running all of Europe, George, all these people was Black. What happened was these guys used to use white people, white serfs, white Slavs as decoys, where they would bring them out. Sometimes they'd castrate them and put them in what they call Janissary corps, Mameluke corps, or whatever. And they would use them as soldiers to go in and enslave and kill other Caucasians to enslave them, bring them in up under them, or they would use them to go fight their own cousins in them, black brothers in them, and disinherit them by proxy. Then once their land is taken by these white serfs or whatever, the black monarch in whom name that they did that for now lets them sit on the land, you see what I'm saying, and rent it and lease it from them. You see, and this is where they started doing. So when they went into Africa to do that, the white decoy niggas that was there still in Europe decided, well, what we're going to do, we're just going to exile them. And while they on their new imperialist shit, we're going to be on our new republic, democratic, socialist shit. And that's when they started changing all of the European nations into, it went from kingdoms, empires, and dominions into countries, nations, and states. And then that's when they started to revamp everything and then blackmail the ones that's in Africa doing all the crazy shit. Right?
They call us black males, right? That's what's so crazy. Right. Like, hey, you're a black male. You're like, oh, I'm extortion?
Right, because we was blackmailing them.
Okay, I'm an extortion. I'm gonna check extortion.
The males. Yes, because the males were the Malay. You see what I'm saying? Or the males or the Malay. Or the Malay, like Malay, M-A-L-A-Y, or Malay, like Mali, same people. So eventually these guys are now trapped in Africa. So they basically try to blend themselves in, you see, and then act as the basis, like they really African. So like when you look at the movie Last Kingdom of Scotland with Idi Amin, you will see him and he's wearing a Scottish kilt though. Because his real name was Henry, because his people's actually Scottish. And they were part of the Scotia line that wound up in Congo. And now he has to be Idi Amin, the Congolese dude, when really he's really Prince Henry from Gloucester. You understand?
Exactly.
And so they give us the real story in the movie and call him the last king of Scotland, because technically he's the last original king that was exiled from Scotland that's now acting as an African, kicking the Indians out. All because he can't go back to Europa because they done locked the door. This is why all the African leaders always did all of their banking in Europe. That's why they did all of their wives and stuff was from Europe, because this is where these niggas was really from. But they acting like Africans now.
It's like, who set up the first, if you could talk about that too, because your knowledge of history is so extensive, as far as, the first universities in Europe and things like that.
Yeah, all of that's us. We built the Salamanca, the Universe of Salamanca, the Universe of the Hebrides, Timbuktu, there was a satellite. That's what Oxford and all of that was. Those were satellite kingdoms or satellite universities of what was in Andalusia, as well as in that. Because a lot of those universities was over here. If you get the book Barry Fell, Saga America by Barry Fell, he'll talk to you about all of the mosques and the college cities that they built all the way out in old Mauritania, what we call today the western portion of the United States. All that's old Mauritania. Yeah, from everywhere from the Rio Bravo, from the Mississippi West. All that's Mauritania, according to Congressional House records, Congressional Globe record. What was that? House Joint Resolution. What was that? The annexation of Texas in 1845. It lays it all out. Says the land belongs to the ancient Mauritanians, the Moorish peoples, and their Indian associates, to whom the country and the land really belongs. But by Indians, and now talking about these Native Americans, Siberians, okay, that's East Asians. They're talking about the real Indians, i.e. the Moors that were connected, the Asiatics that were connected to us through what we call the Pacific Archipelago, going all the way back now to what we today call Russia, which is really Eurasia, which is also Tartaria.
And you know what I'm saying? What's interesting that nobody talks about? I did a lecture, older lecture on the fact that, you know, they found those bones, they found those mammoth bones that are 130,000 years old in San Diego, California, and they found that, you know, humans had chopped them up and eaten them, and they had a whole campfire. You know, like this whole, you know, they found tools and 130,000 years, you know, because, and for those that are just tuning in, 130,000 years ago was before, you know, the original people, you know, black people mixed with the Neanderthals around, you know, 45,000 to 65,000 years ago is when that mixture happened to create the Homo neanderthalis hybrid.
That's right.
Today, and basically, which is anybody that has straight hair.
That's right.
Anybody that's got, you know, hair that's
RH recess factor.
Exactly.
That's right. We don't have it.
But you know what's also interesting too about that is in genetics, you know, anytime you mix two different species, the babies are always infertile. And you know, that's why, you know, when they say like, oh yeah, humans and Neanderthals just hooked up one day and then a baby came out that had a human baby that has some Neanderthal traits. Now, you know, that doesn't make sense because that's never happened in nature. That's why it's clear that either 45,000 to 65,000 years ago, there was some scientist that was mixing.
It was an experimentation,
because there's no way that, you know, you can't just, you know, because even you can create a lion, you can take a lion and a tiger and make a liger, but the liger is not going to be able to make babies. There's never been in nature a proof of two species being able to create that. That's why they have all these missing links. Like we grew up in school with all these books with all types of. They never showed us. This was really interesting to me is that they never showed us a discrete timeline of what happened. Like, you know, like first grade, like, hey everybody, hey kids, this is what happened. You know, there was dinosaurs and this and that and that, and here we are today. You know, they taught us history all broken up. You know.
Yeah, I'm thinking that what we call dinosaurs are really dragons.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that these dragons were actually the things that we was dealing with, and that the dinosaurs were the dragons with no intelligence. And so they were used as a means to do that. The only problem with it though is that the fossils they've given us are put together or extrapolated in a hypothetical situation. You can't, if I'm walking in the sand and I put my palm print into the sand and then I leave, my palm print is there for 100 years, and you come back and you see my palm print, right? Now you have technology, right? That now they say that they can take that palm print and extrapolate what this person's hand, from the hand, what the individual body looked like. Okay, I'll give you that. But then how are you putting the bones back together, nigga? How you doing that? How are you putting bones back together for something that you have no physical definition to even scale it to then say that this T-Rex got little bitty arms? How you know that? The only people that would know that would be my people, because my people, according to the Institute of South Carolina, they have traced that the black man's DNA in this country goes back over 385,000 years in direct patrilineal DNA. So is it any wonder that they want to get rid of any heterosexual black males? That's what it's about. Because we're going to outlive everybody. We're at the bottom. We're at the very bottom, which means that we're actually at the top. Because you don't go that far to put somebody down if they're really no threat to you. I could care less what a Klansman do. I could care less what a white supremacist think. Because them niggas don't think that shit around me. And I've pressed them. I've been in situations with straight racist crackers.
You're in Florida now, right?
And this nigga can't even look me in the face by the end of the convo, boy. He can't. He looking in his pocket to feel what he could give me. You understand what I'm saying? Because this type of shit, understanding knowledge of yourself, understand you become a god. We are gods to these motherfuckers, man. And that's what they don't want to deal with.
Yeah,
like everybody was going in on,
because it brings it back to hip hop. You know, and or just any performer or entertainer in general, and idolization of a musician as an idol. That's a form of worship, like a fetish.
That's not good.
A fetish is like, because you can call a idol like a little statue.
A fetish. That's what they call it.
Also call it a fetish.
Like an Orisha is a fetish.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. But see, what I'm saying, God, is this. Allah does not destroy a people before he brings somebody to give them the message. You know what I'm saying? He does not destroy, or it does not destroy any people, whether good or bad, without first sending somebody to let them know that they tripping. Right? Everybody's upset about this Kevin Samuels guy, right? Just using this as an example.
He's bringing it down. He's bringing it.
Yo, bring it, right? I'm just using him as an example. Now, I could tell he in the Brotherhood. He's a Freemason.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Obviously, he's also an Appa Kappa Alpha. So you already know what that is. He an AKA or whatever that is. And then he's also a noob.
He's the women version, but I forgot what the
Alpha. He's an alpha. He's one of these guys. He in the Greek shit. Right. But then on top of that, he's a noob. So he's like the nigga with the candy canes, the ones that be doing the cane dancing and all that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah,
he one of them niggas too.
Like in Spike Lee's movie when he had the roof and all the you know, with the dogs.
Right. I remember first. That's another story. But seeing him, and I'm just bringing him up as an example because I don't even want to harp on him. But I'm just using this as an example to say, when Allah does not bring a message to a people, he does not destroy the people until he provide a message. Now, if you really do the knowledge, as much people's in their feelings with this nigga and all of that, right? If you really do the knowledge, right? This nigga's really not saying nothing that Shahrazad Ali didn't say back in the early 80s, 90s, nigga. She even wrote books. This was a mother with like 7 kids. She was in the nation, right? She was always and she was trying to do her best to talk to these black women about how they live it. Wasn't she? She was going ham, right? It used to be her, used to be Sister Soldier, right? And these type of females, what did they do with them females? They kicked them females to the back, right? And who did they big up? The Toni Morrisons, right? Read Toni Morrison daughter book about her. Her daughter ripped her a new asshole altogether. Let you know that she only was into white men. She was only into white men. She was never into black culture like that. That they stepped to her and told her that they wanted the type of fiction that would be there to empower black women to know that they could go beyond their families. And that's where all of these stories started coming from. What you call it? It started with What's Love Got to Do with It? Then it went to Stella Got a Groove Back. Then it went to Waiting to Exhale. Once Waiting to Exhale came out, that was it. All Men Ain't Shit, that was it. Then what happened? Then we had Beloved, remember that? Then we had Color Purple, right? All of this shit. Now, our grandmothers, the narrative became that all our grandmothers was raped by their black husbands and shit, who really wasn't shit and whatever. And that's why we can't be with no black men today, right? That's what they did. They went for it. Here goes Shahrazad Ali saying, but wait a minute, that's not true. All y'all women chose to go this route. They made movies showing you the choices you made. Remember Claudine? Remember Claudine with James Earl Jones and Dinah Washington, where she was playing the black woman who had just moved from the South. She had all these kids. She ran off her baby daddy. She needed money, so she had to take money from the welfare, from the system. But she fell in love with this garbage man who was James Earl Jones. But she couldn't get the money from the system and take care of the kids if she had a man in the house. So whenever the white people came to check the house, she would have to hide the nigga. She would have to kick him out the house and all of that. Now, the interesting thing is that both Diana Carroll and James Earl Jones was both married to white people at the time that they made this movie. You dig what I'm saying? But this movie was the precursor. They had a Spanish version of the movie called Poppy. Same story. And that was the story because all of the niggas after the Panther era, after the Judas and the Black Messiah era, all them niggas sold out. Why? Because all them niggas was communists to begin with. They were forced communism in the black community through these operations, through these Panther niggas or whatever. Right? The real Panthers, but when they finally figured it out, they got rid of them. Bunchy, gone. Fred, gone. Little Bobby Seale, gone. You see what I'm saying? But all of the ones that was basically going along with the communism era stayed, right? And actually what happened? They all became social workers. Because remember, they're socialists. So now social workers became the big thing that they started to pump in the community, right? Between the late 70s, from when Good Times came on to the time that the Cosby Show started. It was all about bringing you into the community, becoming a ward of the state, right? And then they started to create TV shows where little black kids was always being raised by white kids, white people. Webster.
Different strokes, right?
Different strokes.
Right.
How many people knew that? Remember the fish that Arnold had? That fish, whose name was Abraham, the type of fish that is called a blackamoor.
Oh, wow. Crazy. I didn't know that.
So think about that. They had the blackamoor in the fish tank. Think about it.
Yeah, no, they know.
Whose name was Abraham, the father of all of the nations, right? And who's there with Arnold and Willis? What is the name of the pineal organ in the area that looks like the ankh around it? It's called the eye of Willis. In your brain, you have an ankh, and it's called the eye of Willis, or the circle of Willis. So when this nigga Arnold was always saying, "What you talking about, Willis?" They talking about the pineal organ. What's going on up in here? Why are we in this whole different community? You see what I'm saying? And so these black socialist communists started to invent and put things in our educational system to make us more and more believe we came from slaves. Because prior to Roots, that wasn't the story.
Exactly. Like you seen that Eddie Griffin comedy thing. He's like, man, when we saw Roots, we was like, what?
Exactly, because it didn't exist. Slavery didn't exist.
And you know, the whole thing with Harry Coolander, I'll put the pictures of all that up. You know, the fact that, you know, a lot of people don't know Harry Coolander didn't even I'm sorry, Alex Haley didn't write Roots. Harry Coolander
write it. He plagiarized it.
Wrote Roots.
Lost the court case.
Asian Male actually wrote it. It was called The African, and Alex Haley plagiarized him.
Plagiarized it.
And then you know, and Dick Gregory points out a really smart thing, that the fact that on a forensic level, the fact that how come Alex Haley never wrote anything really, you know, hits after that. If you have a #1 book, you would think you're going to have a, you know, a number 10 book, a number 11 book, you know, a couple years later, maybe a decade.
All he did after that was the autobiography. And that was all. And they said that he didn't even do that. Malcolm wrote most of that shit. But at the same time, that's what I'm trying to say. All these socialist communist niggas went into the hood and they started to create educational programs to feed us communism and feed us laborism through slavery education. And that's where that's when social studies became part of our educational system. Social studies didn't exist. See what I'm saying? Before it was social studies, it was home economics. They was teaching you how to raise your house. That's when they was teaching kids trades in school and shit. They did all of that with Reagan. Reagan came and deaded all of the means for the Americans to produce anything for themselves from that point on. And these black communist niggas, the same BLM niggas now that's out here causing race riots, causing niggas getting killed and all of that, when really the whole movement is run by 3 lesbians, one of whom is married to a white transgender FTM dude or whatever it is, and then bought all of these about 5 prime mansions, all multi-million-dollar mansions, all in white neighborhoods.
And yeah, exactly. So that's everybody's talking about that now. The fact that, you know, with all that Black Lives Matter, millions, billions they probably got, they haven't even filed. They haven't made one lawsuit. It's like one lawsuit for reparations. I was just talking with some people about this yesterday or 2 days ago. The fact that, you know, lawsuits only like, you know, $200. It's like $200. You know, RJI, request for judicial intervention. That's like, you know, another $100. It's like, okay, $300, $400, you know, you know, $400 and, you know, no lawsuits, nothing, you know.
Know how many people been in jail behind these bitches? Know how many niggas is in jail behind these dykes, man? Doing this type of shit. And then their whole thing is about breaking down the nuclear family. Because now what they're doing,
they had to take it off their site because they got caught.
Yeah,
you know, they got caught.
Then now, whenever anything happens now, if they're not pulling out the Freemason Ben Crump, they bringing out this new black trans dude that's now acting like he's speaking for black males that's getting shot down by the street because they only want beta, they only want cuckolds, they only want homosexual black men. These are the only black men that are accepted. Those of us that are heterosexual, those of us that would never lay down with the devil. Those of us that would never sully our genetics by dealing with any other woman but an original woman. You see what I'm saying? We, like I said, we're gods now. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we're to the level now where we're on such a high frequency that our own people can't even relate to us no more. That's why people like Kevin Samuels, that's why people like Umar and these type of niggas is out here still, because they're not giving them anything concrete. When you talk to me, I know what we can do. We can practice group economics right now, but it can't be such where half of us are still wards of the state and the other half of us is living free in our trust and shit. And then we want to try to bring this together to come up together. It's not going to work like that. We all got to be in a position to be able to have our dollar circulate within our community at least 9 times. Do you understand that any dollar that's brought into a so-called Black community is gone within the first 20 minutes?
Wow, that's crazy.
Come on, man. This is why our economic
circulating. The other communities are circulating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, I told you, you got to circulate it 9 times. By the 9th time, we all millionaires, billionaires. We can't even keep a dollar circulating for 20 minutes, bro. This is where these niggas is at, because every Black business that these mainstream niggas say is Black is not. It's owned by white people. These niggas is just the face for it. Jay-Z don't own nothing.
And they say, like, I've heard that right after, Reconstruction, the number of Black owned, the number of Black folks that were working for Caucasian people was like, 90%, and now it's like 95% or something. Now
it was zero. It was zero because zero. We wasn't working for nobody. They was working for us. The slaves adopted our names because they didn't even have names. These names that we got now, like your name Raymond, my name Prince Charles, or whatever, we think they come from. Wasn't no white people named that. White people didn't even have names at one point. White people only been bathing for 150 years, bro, and they barely doing that. They don't even cook and season their food properly because they can't taste it right. Because they don't got bilirubin, they can't produce the bilirubin that allows your melanin to process food with color. So they got to bleach everything they eat before they get it. And that's why we got bleach sugar, bleach bread, bleach thing, bleach this. Because they can't assimilate food with color. Because to have that, you got to have active bilirubin. Bilirubin is produced through the overproduction or through the production of the melanocyte as it grabs on to the melanosome. It secretes this thing that goes into the melanin pigment aspect itself. So when you eat food that has pigment in it, it can break it down the same way because your body absorbs everything, not just the food, not just the nutrients, but the color of the food you're eating.
No, exactly. And it's interesting too, like whether you're eating with the wooden spoon or whether you're eating with a silver
chopsticks,
spoon, aluminum spoon, like I realized that I prefer to drink water from a mug. The feeling of ceramic, I prefer ceramic as opposed to glass. Like, I like drinking a glass of water, but for some reason drinking a water out of a mug has a more kind of has a more fulfilling
natural. You taste it better. Yeah, same thing, man. It's everything is the opposite. And so we are at a stage where, as we are now moving into we are now becoming the elders. We are our elders now. Because most of our elders sold out. You understand? All these niggas were sold out. So those of us that have it,
a lot of damage are just a lot of elders, because it's like we're kind of the first free generation, born after 67. Like if you look at 67, it's like, okay, that's apartheid, colonial occupation and whatnot. It's like, okay, boom, 67 now. Technically people can do what they want. It's just kind of trippy. Given all these things, we were talking about MLK before. What I realized is that and we're talking about how you're just talking about maybe like, let's say we go back to the Victorian era. They were shitting in the streets and the giant troughs, and they never show that on TV. They make it like, oh, everybody's got perfume and it's Victorian. It was like, yo, it would have smelled. If you walked out there, it would have smelled. And as far as evolution and cultural evolution. When you see those old, videos from 1955 and you see like the the people, the Tamil people screaming at, you know, the young girls, you know, the young girl trying to, you know, just get to school for the first time and all that type of stuff. It's like, yo, it's clearly that is you know, that's a cultural evolution thing. Like they're still, we're teaching them how to be civilized. Like the civil rights movement is actually not about Black people getting freedom. It's actually
at all
Black people teaching the rest of the world to be civilized and be able to. Anywhere you fly around the world, I've been all around the world, a lot of different places, and everywhere I go, you know, Black people are despised. Wherever I go, any country I go to, you know, and it's like, why is that? Why, you know, and I think, you know, Cress Welsing, you know, had a Francis.
She built on that.
A lot of,
but see, the opposite side is true though too, because I've been in many places in the world too. But the only difference is when I'm going, or like I've been to Japan, I've been to Europe, I've been to these different places and stuff. But it's I don't, from when I didn't declare my nationality, traveling was one way. Afterwards, it's like on a whole different level now, because what I find is that once they know that you're not the Negro brand that's been marketed, they begin to like really open up, and like, it's crazy. Like people you would never even think would start talking to me about how they got Moors in their family and how they was really dark and black. But if I had on a baseball cap and a starter jersey and shit, these niggas wouldn't think twice. But what I'm saying is, a lot of this is because we have allowed people that aren't us, that weren't even born in this country, to represent us as if that's what we are. Like Kool Herc was from Jamaica. You know what I mean? What's his name? 21 Savage from Britain. What's his name? Half these niggas, if you really start to look at who was actually born here in hip hop, you would be very surprised. You would also see a heavy, not African influence. You see it more in that now, but you see a heavy West Indian influence. And see, the West Indians, they had a different version of colonialism than we did. Like, we was the mainland owning all the land. They were the ones that were, in a sense, exiled, sent down to them islands and stuff, and then fought their way to get back. You see what I'm saying? So where we feel that we should be entitled to certain things, they know that they are not entitled based upon the system that they grew up in. So they got to come up here and work 3 times as hard as us, and got to do 3 times the thing that we do. And so they look at us like we're lazy, but then we look at them like y'all trying to be fucking slaves. See what I'm saying? And so this way this disconnect comes in. If you look in Brooklyn right now at the drill scene, most of the drillers is all West Indian, all come from West Indian backgrounds. Think about that. Think about that shit. That means then that when we talking about, like, that's like getting a British chick to come over here and play Harriet Tubman. You see what I'm saying? And that's disrespectful, because then you bringing somebody over here to play a cultural icon that one is real life married to a white man, in real life shits on Black Americans, in real life would rather be anything else but, right? But she'll act like us and act like in a fake story to make it like it was real, to make us feel like we need to be more like her. Then at the same time, right, you get another story, you get another version of that in the movie Snowfall, in the TV show Snowfall, all about freeway and the drugs and all of that. But instead of getting some nigga from the hood who could use the job, what do? We get some foreign dude who's not even from America to act like an American drug dealer. And how does he learn to get the American accent so well? You know what he said? Listening to rap. Listening to rap music. I knew all the influences and all of that. And all this nigga doing a show called Niggas Nigga, right? Shoot niggas, kill niggas, all of that, right? And this is what I'm saying. So everybody can, what's the difference between that and a white man putting blackface on, start talking Ebonics and shit? What's the difference between that and an Asian coming in and talking and having a whole museum exhibit on how Africans resemble monkeys.
Yeah,
what's up with that?
I'll put the pictures of all this stuff up.
I got that on my Facebook.
Yeah, they had the monkeys. Yeah, they got all that stuff.
They had a whole exhibit, a whole site on it. But yet still the Asians get
Chinese, the word Africa means is Fei Zhou, and Fei means un or not. It have a connotation of filthy, and then continent was like not continent, uncontinent, or even filthy.
Yep. But see, but here go the wild shit. It's filthy, but all y'all niggas want to be there. It's filthy, but they just stopped a shipping container where they found when they had to stop them because the Chinese, they found that on the barge, they found a whole shipping container of about 17,249 penises that they done cut off from Africans and was shipping to China.
Wow. Yeah.
Now the question, my thing with this is this. I did a joint back in 2001 called Red China Rise in World War V, where I was telling people they was going to do all this shit, right? But here go my thing with it. The Africans, you Africans, let them in your countries to just run you like that. That's my thing. You got your own, think about it. You got your own country, right? And you could do whatever you want, but you can't do it unless these Chinese niggas is giving you a bunch of money that you could print yourself. Nah, nigga, y'all down with it. You down with it.
And you heard about those cases. I think it was in South Africa. I mean, I'm sure it's happening everywhere, but I mean, there's all types of stuff. But where I think it was a Chinese restaurant where they were letting black people in.
Yes.
Right? They weren't letting black people in Africa.
In Africa, bro. They got their own police forces. The Africans let them have their own police force in their country. That's what I'm trying to say. Like these Africans, it's like y'all niggas do whatever. You let anybody run you. And that's my problem with that. So y'all niggas, that's how I know I don't come from them. Because that's not the mentality I was ever born with. I don't give a damn what color you are, how big you are, what you got, whatever. If you try to dominate me, I'm not going to let you do it, man. I'm not going to let you do it because that's not how I was raised. You understand? So when you got these beta cuckold males that's out here letting niggas just do whatever they want to them, that's why they feel that they can harvest them. That's why they feel that they can kill black people every other day because black people letting themselves get murdered. Black people would rather hook up with them and help them murder other black people than to help them stop. These niggas done passed the Asian hate bill, but the federal lynching bill is still in limbo. Nobody doing nothing. Meanwhile, Maxine Waters.
I heard it got rejected like 200 times.
Yeah, they reject it every time they bring it up. But Maxine Waters been in office for over 50 years. Did this bitch do anything about it? No, because that's probably a dude. That's the other side of the game. They gender swapping these niggas on you, and they making you think that the woman that you're idolizing is a woman and it's a fucking man, and vice versa. And y'all niggas is out here picketing. Somebody just sent me today a picture of Serena Williams bleaching herself. I said, y'all worried about the bleach? Y'all niggas still think that's a female?
You remember James Bond though? Remember James Bond? I think James Bond was one of the first instances where a person was able to pass and nobody knew. Remember one of the
in the movie,
James Bond.
I forget which one it was. I think it was Dr. Noah, one of them.
Yeah, I feel like the 80s, maybe like the early 80s or late 70s.
Like Octopussy or one of them type of joints. You probably right, bro. You right. Yeah, they had that. That's what they've been doing. But they've been doing. It's just now that they done made it mainstream, everybody thinks it's a thing. When really this is all about population control. This is all about taking somebody with gender dysphoria and exacerbating that and weaponizing it. So that way now, not only do I have to deal with the devil now, I got to deal with these niggas now trying to be the new black man, right? To replace the heteros, because black women, again, have left themselves open to anybody to do anything to them. And the one person on the planet that's made just for them is the one that they kick it to the curb. And the black man ain't no better. I'm just saying that it's to a point now where you got to start asking real questions, man. Were you born a female? Were you born a man? Were you molested? Were you ever gang raped? Have you been vaccinated? That's what you need to ask niggas first. because that shit is stopping people's hearts. That shit is stopping women that's not even vaccinated. You just be standing next to this nigga and you could lose your baby. This is what's going on.
So, what's interesting, this is a perfect segue into because we were talking about the soul thing, and but I want to talk about like avatars and get a little bit more into the metaphysical realm, because we were talking about radio waves and spectrums and things like that, and I want a big shout out to Ka Ra. He's got a lot of really cool car.
Yep.
Car, and he's got a lot of cool lectures on science and electromagnetism and it was really from his lectures that I really realized that our bodies are made out of just light and magnetism. That's it. We're made out of light wrapped in magnetism. Magnetism is the type of force that keeps the light bound, but everything is just light and magnetism. Everything brings down to that. Even all the molecules, all the atoms and bosons and all the.
There's really only one atom. There's really only one.
So if everything's breaking down the frequency, and they're just trying to disrupt all these frequencies and send all this negative energy through the music and constantly brainwash people, then it's like when will people come together and say like, hey, we want to have we want to make sure that these radio station towers are not affecting us, or we want to make sure that
not gonna happen.
Even the words, there's no organization anymore. Like they bleep stuff if it's like somebody says the F word on the radio, but somebody could say like, yo, I threw somebody in the back of the trunk of my car and pistol whipped them, and that's not a cuss word.
But see, it's a slippery slope because these same rappers, just like that, we all grew up watching movies too, and that's what they doing in movies. Remember when up until Quentin Tarantino, you wasn't seeing no white people call niggas like that in movies. After Quentin Tarantino, all white people calling niggas shit. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, we're never going to be able to do anything with these people in a controlled medium. We have to have our own. In order to have our own, though, we have to create our own means of production. And the means of production can't be met if half of us is trying to be so-called independent, and then the other half of us is low-key agents trying to keep this whole thing going because they can't see a world without the enemy. They can't see a world where they have to be responsible and held accountable for their own actions and not being able to dissuade it to somebody else. They're not raised from that. Remember, we're 4 or 5 generations in to this single mother patchwork family. You see what I'm saying? Everybody raising everybody else's kids shit. And then we're the only people responsible for that. But somewhere along the line, Black men stopped feeling like they were men in their own house. And somewhere the women started to believe that they could do it without the man, especially with the help of the white woman, with the help of the white man, with the help of the government, with the help of everything else. And so they began to train their children, their men, whether they knew it or not, to psychologically be better slaves. I don't want to see my baby get died. So when the police come to you, you better talk like this, have respect, do this, do that, right? Be a good slave. It's not about, I'm not going to have this. We all going down to the precinct and we're all going to shut this precinct down. And we're going to train the police how to be better so I don't have to worry about my child, because my child should not have to change who and what it is when it is still developing. I care more about the future of my child, the future of my people. So we're going to collectively go down there and shut these pigs down, no matter what. You understand? They don't want to do that. What they do is they look at the child as the problem, because these niggas is lazy, because these women stop being disciplinarians to their children because they can't teach their children and discipline them to the point when he become a man. Because now that he's a man, now he can find a woman and get that revenge that he always wanted on you, because deep down he know that you was the one that ran off his father. And then it's the reverse for the female. You got females that are so willing to have this baby, be there with this nigga, but this nigga's such a piece of shit. He don't want to legitimize her by marrying her. So he'd rather just keep her as a baby mom. You understand? And then go out here and have somebody else Now, she loved this nigga. She'd been with this nigga, holding him down. The least he could do is claim her. Do he do that? No. He leave it for some other nigga. You see what I'm saying? And what that does is it creates a situation where black women today, and many black women that's listening can attest to it. How many of y'all go to work and y'all be there, and you be there with your white women co-workers, and y'all not old, y'all within, let's say, between like 23 and 33. And your white counterparts that's within that age range is either engaged, fiancés, they about to be married or married. Then all of the black women that's in the spot, not one of them is married, but most of them got kids. Think about that, yo. That's social engineering. That's social engineering. You were geared to do that.
Naturally, people are going to link together, and now we're in this world where everybody's on their phone.
Other races of men claim they women.
And now
other races of men claim they women.
Exactly. Like if somebody hollers at, like back in the day, the only way for people to meet new people was to, meet somebody in the street, refer a friend or whatever. You meet people in real life. And now it's
remember when we would go out.
Remember
when you would go out with your friends? Remember when you would go out with your friends to talk to girls, and by the end of the night, everybody, you don't even know where your people's at. Everybody got a shorty. Remember that?
Yeah.
Now it's the opposite. You see packs of women together, packs of men together.
No, I was just at a party yesterday. I was the only guy there. I was just at a get together. It was like 20 people. I was the only dude. It was like 2 little boys there.
See,
the only dude.
All females. Where the dudes at? Dudes at the strip club. See,
exactly.
Which is a pathology within itself. There's no way. The reason why I don't like them places: 1, the smell, but 2, the hygiene. 3, the decadence. 4. There's no way you could be in there constantly overly stimulated and not want to pop nothing off, bro. The fact that you could just sit there and just watch and watch and watch and watch and watch, and then like what? Just watch and then just what? Just go home and then not have sex with your wife? Nah, you're gay. Something wrong with you. You gay, or you broke down in your mind somehow, whatever, where you need so much stimulus that you do nothing with it. So really, you just inept, and that's what they've done. These women have hypersexualized and undervalued the vagina so much that these niggas is literally stuck. These guys are so stuck. It's such an abundance of women, such an abundance of sex, such an abundance of lust, right? And breasts and ass and all of this, but there's no intimacy, there's no connection, there's no trust. You understand? And half of these chicks don't even look like that. Then you got the ones that's actually not even born like that. They've become that. You understand? So we're in a situation where they're trying to find ways to trick us into being gay, to trick us into having sex with a tranny, to trick us into poisoning ourselves with vaccine. That's where we in. And it's the law. And those of us that see the insanity, you see, again, we are looking at it from a bird's eye view, but 90% of our counterparts is in it.
Well, you heard about the guy in Canada, right? His daughter. Oh, no. He had a he had a daughter that wanted to become a boy, or maybe
and he tried to stop them, and and they were trying to force
order. Right, the lawyer got the court order where he wasn't allowed to call his kid the birth name of his kid. Like, I guess the kid was born a
boy.
Maybe the kid was born a boy, and he's like, and he wasn't allowed to call his child his son. By court order.
By court order.
In Canada.
Now, that right there, that's not even human. Who is making these laws, and who is going along with it when now you can't refer to your child as mother, daughter? They've destroyed the family. And who's doing that? White people. Ain't no black people co-signing that. Even the black slaves ain't co-signing.
And not in Asia either. You go to Asia.
Nope.
It's not an
No,
Asian. You don't see that in Asia.
because
It's like, hey,
because they are here to destroy the world, and to do that, we are standing in the way. The original heterosexual black man, because we're the ones that haven't bought into the society. Any nigga that does is neutered. He's not a man. You understand? Don Lemon is not a man. Al Sharpton is not a man. Jay-Z is not a man. These niggas are not men. Nas and these niggas is not men. These niggas is entertainers. They are puppets. They are human artificials. These niggas is not doing nothing to help you with none of that money that they make, because that money that they make is not theirs. They all got Jew accountants. They all got Jew lawyers. They all got Jew bank accounts. They all bank with Jew. None of these niggas do nothing with themselves. You see, Swiss and what you call it, Tim had one of the biggest new inventions in the world. And as soon as the shit blow up, what do? Sell it to the white man. Right?
Oh yeah,
sell it to the white man.
Battle, the verses.
Yeah. Then get mad when niggas call them out. But then get mad when niggas call them out.
That money. I thought Swiss Beats had millions and millions of dollars. Why?
These niggas is broke. All these niggas is broke. And they looking for friends. That's why they on the internet now, coming to us now, trying to come in chat groups and all this other type of shit, fucking with niggas like us now. Because they done. Because now they need more followers, because nobody's fucking with Hollywood like that no more.
So do you think the pandemic has, in this is about music and for musicians, do you think the pandemic, because for me, I remember when I used to be like, oh yeah, Virgin Megastore,
yeah, right. Go on. Me and my wife was talking about Virgin Megastore the other day.
Like, my music's not in Virgin Megastore. One day, I want to get my music in there. And then I remember my homie I was on tour with, he got his music in there, and it was in there for like a day, and then they took it, maybe it was in there for a week, and then they took it off the shelf. Like in the listening section, they had to pay mad money for it. Yeah. Virgin Megastore went out of business. It felt like a relief to me. It felt like, wow, it felt like the playing field's being leveled by economics. And when they went out of business, it was like, okay, well, and when everything became MP3, that was one leveling of the playing field. But then when COVID hit, and the pandemic hit, it seemed like, for a lot of us turntablists, we were already in our bedroom scratching and uploading stuff straight to YouTube and having, our own, home studio mixes and stuff like that. We had been doing that. And then it was like, oh, now the rest of the world's doing what we were always doing. So, what are your thoughts on that, on as far as the music industry and, because it seems like this, the pandemic could be a window for a lot of innovation, like as far as Black technology and things like that, like verses, like you're saying, like they bought the technology, but other people could still come up,
Yep. So that's what I mean. It's the best time for people, especially people who know how to do real business. Like nowadays, the best business to do is through doing all your business through your trusts. So this way, all your stuff is tied up. So maybe you, in your state, it may be that they can't have a gun. You can't own a gun, right? Or that you got to go through whatever to get a gun. But you can also establish what's called a gun trust in your state, where you have all your guns associated to the trust that you're associated with, and that the trust owns the guns. Which then puts you as the vestryman, meaning the operator or the trustee for the gun trust. You see what I'm saying? That's not connected to your private family trust and whatever. You see what I'm saying? So this way, you are not directly the interface for them to grab onto. It's too much stuff. And everything in this business, in this world, runs through third party. If you have a third party that happens to be indigenous for your own community, whatever, that third party can now do all the business for you guys. And we all could come up at once instead of just being Nas being a billionaire and this nigga being a billionaire. And these things are all these billions, but they don't got no distribution company for themselves. Exactly. They don't got no technology company for themselves. They got no radio station. They don't got nothing. You understand that James Brown, before he died, he owned at least 12 radio stations. Wow. Sam Cooke, before he died, he had at least 9 radio stations. He owned all of his masters. He owned all of his publishing at a time when they was literally hanging niggas out the window. Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to say, bro. Like these niggas make it where you and I are now the elders because they need us. I don't ever need to listen to another Nas record again because I know that whatever he'll make is always going to sound like Nas. It's always going to be, he's never going to go beyond where he is. He's almost had to dumb himself down. And then look at what they did. They forced him to do the record with the fake Nas, the devil Nas, the little Nas X Nas, right?
Oh, right, yeah, they got the new Nas.
Right?
I knew it too when he came out. I was like, I bet you he's gonna be the new Nas.
You see, I told you. And they make the little devil gay dude the new Nas, and they get the real Nas to have to co-sign this nigga and do a song with him. Then right after that, Nas gets a Grammy. You think that that's a fucking thing, bro? No, because in the end, all these niggas is down with it, bro. They all down with it. And if they not, and if they listen, if y'all niggas is listening, hit me up at houseofella@hotmail.com. Let's go on and show and prove that you're not. And you're not going to do it. Because in the end, all of these niggas is on the tape. None of these niggas can do what they want. Because in the end, is one trust that's running the whole shit. And that's the Sestoui Trust that's connected under the Pesor Trust, which is connected under the trust that's connected to George and the old family of the Marie Antoinette and Louis that was killed. They had a son and they spirited him to England. And then from England, George, who was his uncle, sent him to America. And then the lands that he was in North Carolina, all the way up to Virginia, was ceded to him in that trust, the Pesor Trust, which became, and they started a business from that trust. And that business was called the Virginia Company. That Virginia Company, we know, eventually established another business after the coup d'etat called the United States of America. You know what I'm saying? The United States of America, incorporated in Lloyd's Bank of London, right? That's by 1871. Then by the late 1800s, they consolidated all of the trust, all of this shit, and then started to lease aspects of the trust to create sub-businesses. And that's where Standard Oil came from. That's where came from. That's where Krups and all of these different corporations came from. But they all under the same trust, meaning that they all broke, meaning that they all decoys. You see what I'm saying? And they building this money up. And then eventually they can't hold it in the US because they're going bankrupt. So they got to reorganize it again. And they put it into something now called the Charleston, Cincinnati, Chicago Railroad Company. That is what owns the United States. That is the United States Corporation. And the railroad company, which was set up by Rockefeller and all of them, was funded by this trust, which was elements of the Sestoui Trust of 1666 that was merged with the Pesor Trust that established the Virginia Company that eventually consolidated to do all of the business through Washington, D.C., right? 10 miles square, then put the money up to all of the sub-leasees. Then the sub-leasees that we call hundreds, that they also, well, we call hundreds, they call corporations. They all now take these names and act like they're different businesses when they're the same business, under the same dude, under the same trust. Then eventually it gets too much. They go bankrupt because Noble Joe Ali came, pulled the rug from under them. So now they got to do something else. So they consolidate it all into another business. And then that business became known as the Charleston, Cincinnati, Chicago Railroad Company. And then they consolidated, put all of it in there, and then made it so that way anything that the railroad touched, the railroad owns 100 miles out. So anywhere that the railroad is, the railroad company own all of the land that's around it. And all of that is now put into the what you call it trust, the railroad company trust, which is then doubled up under the what you call it, the Washington, the U.S. corporation, right, which is also a trust, right? Then all of that's doubled up under the Virginia Company. You see what I'm saying? Then that's under the Sestoui Trust, and then that's under the Pesor Trust. So it's really all of these businesses are fake. That's why they can all just come out of nowhere, make money, or be millionaires, because they all pulling money out the same trough, because it's the same money that's been there and it's ours. So now what they do, this is why the CIA niggas call themselves company men. Don't they call themselves what they say? Oh, you work for the company. Oh, you a company man. You remember the company is the railroad.
You know what that makes me think of? It makes me think of two things. But one, you know, in Monopoly where they got the railroad. Like, is there a Virginia railroad?
Yes.
There's a Virginia
railroad? Telling you. Yes. And guess who used to work the railroad? Who? Noble Jew Ali.
Oh, wow.
Noble Jew Ali was a porter on this thing, which is probably how he figured the whole shit out. And then when he came and set up the Moorish Science Temple of America, if you look at the organizing document on that, you'll see at the very top in the middle, there's an upside down R. Right? That upside down R means Rex, right? But it also means railroad. So because anything that's right side up means that it's in his thing, but because he turned it upside down, he showed one that he's the king, and he is now setting up his aspect of the railroad because it was all done in the name of the Moors anyway. Because Paysor and the rest of them niggas, the Moor Paysor comes from the name Bayshore, because Paysor means paymaster. The person that George, the king, the Black King George, put as the guardian for the Lost Dufont, who was Marie and Louis's black son, because they was both black, which is why they cut their heads off. His name, the Moor that he was the guard, he was still young. So he put a Moor as a guardian for him. That Moor's name was Bayshore. And then they sent them to the land over here. Because even though England and France was at war, remember the royal families are still related. It's one family. So when they cut off the head of Marie and Louis, they had a retarded son who they thought was the real son. And then they locked him, and then they took him hostage. And then that's when the French revolutionists created the French Republic. You see what I'm saying? Which then went into the French Empire with Napoleon. The real son, who they called the Lost Dufont, the Marquis de Maison Rouge, he was spirited out and brought to Albion, which is England. But remember, there is no England at this time. There's only New England, which is the colonies over here. Yeah,
so that's an important thing. That's you know, I've seen a lot of your lectures, and I think it's a very, very important thing that you brought up that people don't realize when they're talking about history. It's like they'll be like, "Oh, look, that's that's Johnson Street."
Right.
And but maybe Johnson Street was made in 1983. But they're acting like, hey, Johnson Street must have been here for a million years. That was always Johnson Street. You know, or anything, any name or any title or any document like that.
Exactly, bro.
Really how long that thing has been there. Like the whole, like I was shocked when I found out about India being Hindustan and only being about India recently.
Yeah, your grandmother's older than India.
Right.
My grandmother's older than all of the African nations right now. They all came up into business in the 50s. And like I said, all them Africans that was running it when the Europeans left were the European black nobility that was running Europe prior to them being exiled. That's why they couldn't go back. That's why they keep Africa where it is. As much as they love Africa, what they doing about Libya? Nothing. Nothing. And they got every nationality of African man getting killed and cut up.
You know what's interesting about how you're talking about us Black Americans, fighting back versus, what happened in Africa. I remember I just saw recently, the picture where it's like 3 black dudes that are tied by their legs upside down. You see that picture. And, I'm just thinking, it's like you never see that obviously it could happen in America, but as far as Black Americans, you see World Star, you see that, we're fighters, we don't give up.
No, we're not organized.
I was just thinking how I had never seen an image like that as far as Black America, outside of drawings. I've never seen an actual picture of 3 Black American dudes tied up by their legs, hanging upside down.
And those are Moors, and they list them as Moors in it. And they list them as Moors in that because we are the ones that fought back. We're the ones running everything. The other side of that, like with Black Panther, like the movie Black Panther, like because they want to destroy the Black male heterosexual image, they want to make it where they don't want to recast this dude. They're also doing that because they don't want to have a Black Captain America, right? And a Black Panther at the same time and a Black Superman at the same time. What are they doing? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and they're talking about bringing that light skin dude in.
Hey, I'll take that more than not having the main character. It's not going to be, you can't have a Black Panther movie without the Black Panther in it. That's stupid. And the other side of that is, like I said,
like Christopher Reeve. It's like,
how many times Superman died?
They didn't change.
Superman had a curse. They had a curse on the niggas who created Superman. The person who broke the curse was the last Superman, Henry Cavill, who I thought was dope. I thought he was a great Superman. Like, Superman don't gotta be black for me to like him. You understand? Because I'm not a racist. I like Superman because I knew, I've actually sat down with Jeanette Kahn, the bitch that was running DC, and I told her to her face, you got all of this from the Moorish Empire. Because Kal-El, that's a Moorish name. He's wearing the Moorish flag on his back. You know what I'm saying? The whole shit or whatever. So I'm okay with it. Because again, somebody who really grew up in the medium, grows up with the comic, like, I'm okay with it. I was okay with the the white Captain America, Steve Rogers, because he gave so much respect to the black people, the way that they wrote him. So I'm just as cool with the Black Falcon, right? But what I'm not cool with is them acting like they don't know what they doing, when really the real science on it, big up Ambassador Prince Michael. If you ain't never watched his stuff, big up Ambassador Prince Michael. Ambassador Prince Michael from the Kikuyu people out in Mount Kenya, where the real Wakanda is at. There's a lawsuit against the Black Panther for all of that. That's been in effect from when Stan Lee and them went over there and actually saw the real shit and put it into the comic book. All that shit is real. It's all real. The problem is the vibranium, the characters, this hidden city, all of that. All of that shit is real at the base of Mount Kenya. And the group of people there who follow the Kikuyu, the ancient Kikuyu or whatever, reached out and met a Moor over here, a brother over here who's born here, and reached out to him to come back to Africa, to Mount Kenya, so they could lay it on him and they could help him kind of resolve this, because they don't put a curse on the whole thing. So not only was the curse on it, once the curse started, that's when niggas started dying. That's when Chief Omachi died. That's when what's his name died. Chief Omachi was the nigga who was training him for the Panther movie. He died. Then the other dude, the dude who played the Black Panther father, T'Chaka, I think he wound up getting sick, almost dying. Then Then the shit happened with Chad. Then he died. Then the Chicago fire started. When they said that they announced it was the #1 movie in the world, that's when, look it up, that's when the California fire started. Right? This shit, niggas is dying. And then a lot of the DPs, a lot of the grips wound up dead. Niggas just dying behind this movie. All because these niggas won't give the respect for where they got it from. So building with Brother Prince Michael, he said, yo, everybody hated the white boy in the Black Panther movie, right? Who played Everett Ross, who played the white man. But really, if we look at it symbolically, that white man in the movie represented Jack Kirby. Because Jack Kirby drew it in such a way that once they copywrote it, they would have to say where the original source material came from. So they would omit it. But based upon how he drew it in the comic, you see, he left it so that way the people in the future, us, could come back and be like, no, y'all niggas stole all this shit. And this is the proof. And look what happened. I told you, all these niggas wound up dying. Actually, the first person to die was who? Stan. Remember? Stan wound up dying. Then look before that happened though. Before Stan dying, they was torturing him. They kidnapped him and they stole vials of his blood. Look this shit up. Stole vials of his blood, and then he wound up dead. Then Kirby died, right? Almost a year to the day that the Black Panther comic book came out. Died. Then that's when they started filming. That's when Chief Omachi died. That's when this one died, and it's just been dying ever since. So there's a heavy curse dealing with that. Then legally, they basically already lost. So this Black Panther 2 thing they trying to do, I feel like, okay, you want to do it? You need to holler at Ambassador Prince Michael. You know what I'm saying? Because that brother's way more forgiving than me. Because I'm like, let all these niggas go. Let the whole thing go down. You know what I'm saying? Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Because in the end, they get what they deserve. But again, I'm an Aries. The brother, this is probably why they reached out to him. You know what I'm saying? To get the real science, to try to heal the situation and come to somebody like me. Because as a Sultan, I'm like, nah, bro, off with your head. Like, they don't deserve no quarter. You understand? That's why I feel like the actors is scared to death and is kind of tight-lipped talking about the shit and what they got to do, because they know. Because the prince done reached out to them. So it's not like they don't know. They know. So if they go along and do it anyway, without trying to do no reciprocation, circumambulation ritual, some humility, mad people going to die behind that.
You heard about Thandie Newton, right? About what happened to her with the, when she was a young girl, teen, doing the parts, and the guy was filming under her dress, and he was a big director, and he was showing it to all his other director friends, and then she only found out because her husband was talking to another person, and he was telling her about the video that he had seen.
Yes, they all got videos like that. Thandie Newton, Zoe Saldana, the light-skinned chick from all of these chicks are always paired with white men. Zoe Saldana could be green, blue, purple. She gonna be with a white man in a movie, okay? But she will dress up in blackface to make Nina Simone look like a fucking animal.
A prosthetic nose on her.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
You understand what I'm saying? So don't tell me that you don't see race and you don't do this or whatever, when you're ready to just blacken up for these white people to make this dark-skinned black woman look like an animal, and you participated in that, bitch. You cursed too.
She could have just got a tan and kept her regular nose.
You could have just got India Irie.
I mean, it was still.
You could have got India Irie. Go get Jasmine Sullivan. Go get somebody. Go get Lauryn Hill. Somebody.
Exactly.
You could have got somebody, man.
And that's why I think we're at a great time in history, because now with all this technology, back in the day, it's like, okay, to make, 1975, if me and you wanted to make a movie, then it's like, okay, this, it's going to cost a lot of money. But now it's like you can do a lot of things.
More at one point they was going, Charlton Heston was trying to play Malcolm X in the movie.
I heard about that.
Like, these niggas don't care more. Like, they don't care. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you, as much as whack as that was for that to happen to that sister, she still married a white man after that in the same industry. And he wound up watching the tape. And it's not like he took the tape, beat the niggas up, don't do that to my wife. No, he watched the tape with them white men, sat there with it, probably jerked off with them, came back and told her, yeah, the tape is out there, blah, blah, blah. And she sit there and eat it, because they will do anything these white men say to them. But let it be me. Let it be you.
But the crazy part is, then she's in Westworld replaying, they're making her enact a lot of her traumas from being molested.
That's why they
actually making her relive that through the thing.
That's why these niggas ain't shit.
Why would they make her do that?
So you mean to tell me you see that and I see that and she can't see it and she there doing it? That's why she ain't shit. That's why she should get everything that everything that these niggas get, you deserve. Because in the end, every one of them has made an agreement with the entity that they believe is Lucifer. Period. Now, I know in the metaphysical, esoteric, metaphysical tip, Lucifer's really the symbol and really the real name for the pineal gland, which is the day star, the morning star. It's not really no entity, but I know all of that. These niggas don't care about that, because in the end, they are dealing with the person who is deified as the entity of Lucifer that sits there at the Rothschild Castle, because God exists everywhere. This devil can only be in one place. So that's why they always go out there, whether it be to France or whatever. Look up the MTV building in Temple Square. It's in the Masonic Lodge.
Wow.
In England, look it up. When they go to England, they go into a Masonic Lodge when you go to MTV, because it's MTV, Mason TV. That's what it is. These niggas don't be lying. We be lying to ourselves, thinking there's something else and it's not. It's that simple. These motherfuckers is all on it. Excuse my language. They all on it. They all down with it. They all down with the brotherhood. No matter how much they work with black people, they never going to work with black people enough to get us all to the level where we don't need them. So as far as I'm concerned, they all collaborators, bro.
So you grew up with you were talking about Mob earlier in this interview. You were talking about Mob Deep and them being
going to school.
freshmen.
Went to school with them.
While you were a senior or older in the same high school, and homie, died with the egg in his mouth, right?
That's what they say.
Yeah, that's what they say. Like, do you think that could have been him being?
It's always a ritual, bro.
Yeah.
Nobody dies. Nobody gets out of this game unscathed when you join up with them. When you sign that first contract, that's it. You're in. You're just in. That's what it is. And especially when you don't got no nationality, when you don't got no faith, when you don't got no trust or nothing to set up. Great, you want to sign your record deal? Sign your record deal. But sign it through your trust, nigga. Because then what happens now is that's the hedge that protects you. Nobody can penetrate that. That means that regardless of whatever happens, they would have to injure the trust first. And they can't do that.
And now and now you can make a blockchain trust.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying.
They can't even touch it. They can't even, they can't destroy it.
There's so much we could do right now if these niggas would just get off their ass and stop brown nosing these niggas. Stop acting like they the best thing. Stop stressing these light-skinned chicks, man. Niggas need to go back to the old penitentiary thing, man, and jerk off instead of being out here trying to pay for vagina, pay for orgies, paying to go into us. Just go home and jerk off, man, if that's what you got to do. You'll save yourself time, and at least you'll be pleasuring yourself more than becoming food for somebody else out here. Because that's what got these chicks out here bugging. Like, I came from the era where black women, you couldn't even hint that a black woman gave fellatio. You understand? Like, that's the era I came from, where they wouldn't even admit that they did that. With dudes was not performing that.
Yeah, no, and that's what's deep about like the Megan Thee Stallion stuff and all this, kind of neurolinguistic programming. Where you got because my cousin actually, or no, I'm sorry, not my cousin, my niece-in-law, she had been running away from her different homes, and bouncing to her grandfather's, running away from her grandfather, bouncing to her aunt, running away from her aunt, and her brain is just filled up with
hot girl summer, city girls,
yeah, exactly. Her brain is just filled up with that. And, and now this pandemic hit, she's not even in school. She's just like, hey, it's like a lot of kids, they're just, they got all this stuff in their mind. And I noticed that, like I had this friend, he was at Hofstra, and I remember he flunked out. And I remember thinking that, I've noticed that since the advent of like a lot of the social media stuff, people, it's been harder for a lot of people to focus and concentrate and study and get their, just get their assignments done or whatever, and things like that. Like I've taught a lot in the past and seen, kids now distracted with, all these devices. There's just so many distractions from so many places. What I've noticed is that these distractions in the long run, they end up just kind of helping colonialism in the sense that it buys them more time,
because it's not. We've actually passed the time. We've actually not even in this time we in now. We don't already reach the great getting up morning where the devil gone, where all of this shit that we dealing with is a long distant memory. We somewhere laughing about what it used to be, but we can't even remember what white folk even look like or what a brain dead black nigga really was or any of that. We're there now. What this is the delayed response to that ascension. You see what I'm saying? That has already taken place. So what we're doing now, we're the echo, we're the shadow catching up to our body. Whereas the rest of these motherfuckers think that this is all that it is. So imagine being in a bathroom and living in a bathroom your whole life. And then one day you open this door and you in the bathroom open it to an entire mansion with land and free food and gold and everything everywhere. Right? That's where we are now. Half of us know that there's a mansion outside this bathroom, this waiting room that we call life. And then half of us think that the waiting room is life, is the mansion, is the bathroom. You see what I'm saying? So they shitting and eating where they live.
Like a cat, because most cats, I'm talking about like an actual cat, like a pet cat. Most cats, they live in their house, and if you take them outside, you know, I mean, house cats, not a cat, but a house cat. You take them outside the house, it's like taking them to another dimension.
Exactly. But they'll sit there. But they'll sit there and look out the house all day. But they'll sit there and look out the window all day.
Exactly.
Won't be bored or nothing, right? And that's what I'm saying, because they know they place. That's the difference between them and a dog. A dog got to go out.
Exactly.
A dog got to think, because the dog is more about the material. The cat is more about the immaterial. You know what I'm saying? But the cat will let you know what is physically around in the environment. The dog gonna let you know what's in your environment right now. You know what I'm saying? And that's why some people are dog people, some people cat people. And that's what I'm saying, same thing. Some people are living people, some people are dead people. We're around a bunch of dead people that think that they're alive. That's why they can be turned into zombies, because they can be easily misled enough to actually inject poison into themselves for a sickness that they didn't have, to get sick in order to get well. Think about that. They're done.
Because, you know, it's, you know, for me, I've always thought, like, you know, unless it's like, you know, car accident and my arm's broken and I have to fix the bone and the doctors have to fix the bone and push it, and it's like, okay, yeah, cut my arm open, you know, fix the bone, that makes sense. But if it's like, yo, I just have a cough, then there's no reason to be like, you know what, we need to give you some, we're gonna cut you open and make it a new thing. So my mom is dealing with atrophy, and she had two, maybe two pieces of muscle kind of snap, right? And they tried to reattach it, they couldn't reattach it. Then the doctor's like, you know what? Let's try. Let's do a whole shoulder blade replacement. And she's like, no. That is, you know, because it's like if they can't reattach two little muscles,
how are you going to take the whole shoulder out
and put a whole nother shoulder blade in and reattach like 50 muscles? You know what I'm saying? They couldn't even reattach two little.
You can't do one, but you're going to do 50.
Exactly. So it's like, you know, all these things. So this is a perfect segue. You just brought up the word mansion, and it made me think about the dimensions thing. I really want to get into the dimension stuff before we go. Your views on the historical view of the afterlife, dimensions, you know, because one thing I realized about colonialism and even racism in general is that people that are racist usually are living they're not recognizing the fourth dimension. Like, they're only recognizing the 3D world. Like, hey, I'm on this world. What, you're talking about something from a million years ago? Why are you guys so mad? You know, that was 50 years ago. That was 100 years ago.
Right.
And not realizing.
But then these same niggas could use stuff from 100 years ago to justify why they act.
So it's like living like a child or an animal that's only living in the present, and they're not living in a fourth dimensional realm, or they're not using a fourth dimensional consciousness of being like, okay, yeah, I'm an object. I'm here now, but I was also here in the past. My ancestors here in the past. We're all connected.
But see, they didn't exist in the past, bro. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, they didn't exist in the past. Caucasian people as we know it, WIGHT people as we know it, they did not exist in the past the way that they make themselves appear. That's why they got to dress up like everybody else's past. How you got a movie called The Mexican and Brad Pitt and Juliette Lewis is in it? How you got a movie called The Last Samurai, but Tom Cruise is a star? How you got a movie called Brother? But then you got Jake Gyllenhaal and Tobey Maguire as the main characters? Like, this is what they do. It's all of this fake decoy shit, and that's how they live, because they're the original clones. They're the original grafted made devil. They're the original Frankenstein monster. It's them. So because they have the genetic memory to know it's them, they know that they have gone through different epochs in time, and we have always checked them. This is the longest within a time period that they've been able to rock, because we're not in our right mind. But they cannot exterminate all of us in mass, because there's something in us that will click on and destroy these niggas in a moment. You know what I'm saying? We all can destroy this world right now. If you want to get rid of this world right now, next time you with somebody that you love and y'all having sex, the closer you get to the orgasm, think about the destruction and the end of Western civilization. And every nut that you bust from that point on, you think about that. You watch what happened. I've done shit like that, wound up in a new condo. I've done shit like that. know what I'm saying? Especially when you love the person, where y'all can actually turn the bed to an altar and then have your own ritual to then push this energy up into the ether to make it happen. Because we are the ether, which is the fifth element. So we can bring into reality what we want.
Brett Carr has a lot of cool lectures on that stuff. I was talking about Brett Carr before on vortex energy and kundalini and the power of that. And what's crazy was I was watching one of his lectures, and I was on that specific subject. And I remember I was driving, and I was like, I was trying to find some free plants on the road, because sometimes somebody will throw out a yucca plant. They go, oh, I don't want this yucca plant in my yard, and they throw it out. And I'm like, hey, well, I can take that yucca plant and plant it. You know, and I was looking for some yucca plants, things like that. I was driving, and a giant tree came and hit me. I was driving, and a tree fell down and hit my windshield.
Wow.
And totally, destroyed the windshield of the car. But, I was fine. It was shocking, but I was fine. But it was weird because I was, focusing on
looking for plants.
Energy, and I was focusing on getting a free plant. I was looking for plants. I was literally driving them, because I knew it was this neighborhood where they threw out all these plants, and I got hit by a giant plant, came to me and hit me.
See, careful what you wish for, but it ain't killing you.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you and I can produce what we want. Like the video, like what I just told you, I did a long time ago, I did a video with elder named Brother Dawood. And we talked about what I just said or whatever. And they banned that video in like 8 countries, like 9, 10 countries.
Wow.
Can't even find it no more. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like we are really running this shit. When I say we, I mean those of us with the consciousness and the awareness and all that. That's not fiending to be famous, that understand that Allah has made us famous within his entertainment industry. So, you know what I'm saying? So we already got sitcoms and all types of shit up in there. So here we're just basically refining our craft so that when we get to that point, you know what I'm saying? We just off the ground running. Everybody else that believes this reality is all that is stuck. So this is heaven and hell for them. You understand? But heaven and hell, heaven, earth, and hell, really, if we really want to get into what they are, I'll show you. Heaven starts from here to here. This is heaven.
Wow.
Then from here to your waist, that's earth. And then from your waist to your feet, that's hell. The bottomless pit is the anus that you push through all of the negative waste that Allah that has seen, that is actually offensive to God, which is what? Your clean immune system, right? Your digestive system. So you expel that. You put that down into Hades and expel it through the bottomless pit, never to be seen again, right? Right? The heaven is up in here. Because when we dream, where do we go? In here. Where is space? Where is the earth? In space, right? Right? Well, allegedly.
Space,
Right. So if that's the case, then I'm already in space. I'm already in space here, because this is really the space that exists. The shit outside the firmament don't. There is no, you can't tell me that you can, if you tell me, how you going to tell me that you got a rover on Mars when you won't even let niggas fly over Antarctica? What are you talking about, bro? What are you talking about?
Exactly.
I can't go.
Or they can't clean up Fukushima.
Come on, Mark.
They can't figure
you ain't
out
never been to the moon. You ain't never been to the moon. You ain't never been nowhere. And anybody that ever tells me that they is down with it. That's what I'm trying to say. Whenever I hear people parroting the story or version of the story, I stop looking at those people as individuals. I look at them as part of the collective evil that's keeping this reality where it is. So that don't mean I'm going to treat you like shit or whatever. I'm going to treat you as confident in whatever you treat me. But what it does know is that I know what side you're on. You with them people. You getting vaccinated with them people. You trying to get me to kill myself. You with them people. You understand? And then people is anybody that's against forward movement, right action. And that's 95% of the people around us.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that, because I want to get into dimensions and stuff, and you're talking about Antarctica and different things like that. Because like for me, you know, when I hear a theory, I think like, hey, you know, that's possible. But then I also think like, hey, there could be anything is possible, because, you know, you hear about Admiral Byrd saying he was flying into a giant, you know, curved torus kind of like hole, you know, and flying into, you know, inner Earth. And I was just watching, what was that with the inner Earth?
King Kong, Godzilla.
King Kong, exactly. I was just watching that.
See, that King Kong represent the black man, the black giants that was running everything, and then Godzilla represent the reptilians that came from the stars and shit with the fake technology. And then we had to go think. That's why King Kong had all the technology. He had all of the the weapons. He had the writing, right? He had the throne, right? Godzilla. Right, whereas Godzilla had the same thing, but he had his kingdom in the movie before that was underground, was under the water, remember? And it looked like Egypt and shit. So again, you got two titans representing two sides of the celestial family. The part of us that's Terran born, King Kong, meaning those of us that's physically lords of the earth. And then you have the Godzilla strain, which is again the RN DNA. So King Kong would be the DNA. Godzilla will represent the RNA. You know what I'm saying? The alien aspect that once linked turns us into Monster Island or the gods or whatever. So when we speak of galaxies, dimensions, frequencies, realms, those are all the same thing. When you understand that there's nothing outside of the firmament, that in order for us to get into what we perceive as space, we got to get beyond the ice wall onto that other part of the earth. And then maybe got to get beyond that ice wall, which means whatever civilization earth is in there, to then get on the inside to then go out. Because remember in the movie, when they went into the inner earth, it looked like they was in space, right? And then it got to a point and then it fractured and then they wound up on the inside. Because just like with us, in order for me to project outwardly, I have to go inwardly. So why wouldn't it be the same thing for the physical reality as well? If I want to go into outer space, I got to go inner space to get out.
Exactly.
Because the real reality is on the inside, not the outside. The outside is the external illusion.
Exactly.
The inside. Yes.
Like Terrence McKenna, like the you know, his time traveling through DNA. Versus
there's another brother named Martin McKinney, and he has a good breakdown of like reality is like a Christmas tree, and what we perceive as the North Pole is actually really the southern magnetic pole. We are not spiraling through space, because if that's the case, then why is it that the star of the north, which is the south, always stays the same? How is it if I'm rocketing through space at such a high velocity, how come all the zodiac signs is in the same place? Name one time you got into a car and drove down and looked out the window and everything stayed the same. The fuck out of here, man. It's all fake. Every image that we've ever seen about anything came to us from the same niggas that told us that we were slaves, that told us that we was a shit, that told us and told our mothers that we was criminals, that we was super predators and all this bullshit.
Did you see the documentary with that Kubrick documentary? You saw that?
Yes.
With Kubrick, Kubrick supposedly helping NASA.
Yeah, he did. They made movies about that.
In exchange for a high quality lens that could put him at a higher level than the other directors. At the time, to be able to have that super clear, I think it was a Zeiss maybe lens.
Yes, because they made two movies about it. They made a James Bond movie called Moonraker, where he was chasing the dude, and they broke in. There's a scene where he's chasing the dude through the Hollywood studio, and they break in, and they on the moon landing. Then OJ did a version of it called Capricorn 1, where they looked that movie up, in which he was the astronauts, one of the niggas they faked for the moon landing. Then they made another movie recently called Moon Walker, and it's about Kubrick in them. But guess what? Stanley Kubrick ain't dead. Stanley Kubrick is Solomon Rushdie.
No.
Look them up. Look it up. Look it up. You'll see for yourself. And when we say it and we put on a thing, you put up the picture, people see for themselves. That's the same person. He He ain't dead. None of these, why kill niggas that you need to help this thing go with? You just kill them and then bring them out of somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
And what do you think about like, let's say for instance, we talk about like Men in Black, right? And you know how in Men in Black where there's that scene where they open the locker, because remember how we were just talking about the cat being inside the house or being inside of a realm,
and the whole world is in that.
Exactly. And they had that locker and the whole world was living inside that locker. You know, what are your thoughts on that? Because it's like, you know, as far as, you know, when people talk about Shambhala and Inner Earth and all these things, you know, people aren't talking about, you know, when we think about dimensions and all that stuff, it's always like, oh yeah, some other dimension or parallel dimension, but not like, hey, maybe inside of a rock, there's a whole nother dimension, you know, because I saw a documentary called Hidden People. And you saw that?
It was dope. Yep. It's dope.
I was randomly like up in the middle of the night. This was back when I had cable or something a long time ago, and I saw that and I was like, what? And you know, so for those that don't know, it's a documentary called Hidden People, and it's about the people in Iceland and the fact that most people in Iceland still believe that there's elves and
because they are just like in Norway, in Sweden and Norway, it's trolls.
Exactly, trolls, and that they live in a different dimension inside the rock.
There's a movie called Troll Hunter. Have you seen that movie?
I saw a little bit of it. I saw like 10 minutes of it. Yeah.
Looks like that movie, yo. Y'all repeat that movie. That shit is real. I know somebody out in the sticks in Norwegia and Sweden and all that. And he be telling me, he'd be like, nah, more that shit is real. The trolls is real. Just like the little people, like the Lilliputians and shit. There's a whole race of them in Ghana. And the people in Ghana know all about them, but they don't really tell niggas unless you really there. And they live in like the trees and stuff. They actually have whole little communities, like the Monty Cheese and the Smurfs and shit. There's whole communities like that. Fairies and all that stuff exists. There's a book you could get called Ancient and Modern Britons by David McRitchie, right? Volumes 1 and 2. He did another book also on fairies and all that type of stuff. The Twas, the leprechaun, all of those was black people. Like the leprechauns in Ireland, those was the Twas that came up because of the silversmithing, because all of Ireland and all of that. Ire just means far. So any place could be Ireland. You understand? So they went up there during the time of Queen Scotia, because Scotland is named after Scotia, and she was the daughter, I think, of Ramses III, Ramses II, or some shit. And then she went up in there and then married the king, King Galios. And King Galios and Scotia got together, created Scotland, and then he gave them the mixture of what we call the Gaelic language and the hieroglyphs. So Gaelic is actually Egyptian. It's a Proto-Egyptian language. Which is Moorish, because the Egyptians were Tamaranians. And the Tamaranians, that's the difference between it. See, they'll say Egyptian, but you don't really hear the word Tamaray. The Tamaranians were the people who created the society for the people we call the Egyptians, because the Tamaranians, Ta'amore, right? The Moors, right? Because Tamore is like Tamor, right? Or Tamor, or Tam or Ra. These Tamorians were a race of high priests, females and males, who, as this race, who existed on a hyperdimensional level, were able to create these megalithic structures and stuff on a higher dimension and superimpose them on this one. You understand? And then the peoples that developed to live in those situations became known then as the Egyptians, the Etruscans, the Phoenicians, the Canaanites, the Moabites, the this, the that, but they all the same people descended from this great race of high priests and priestesses that existed on a higher hyperdimensional level that can access both dimensions simultaneously by being physically here and physically in all the dimensions at once. That's what melanin do.
So you mentioned dimensions. Now, in your research, what have you found in your research as far as the number of dimensions out there? It's like some people say it could be infinite dimensions, this and that, and most scientists in Western scientists are kind of on the tip of like, oh, there's only either 10 dimensions or 11
a white man is always going to put a cap on something. So anytime
they're only like,
put a cap on
11,
something,
10,
that's white. That's white logic. Anytime a white man, anytime people tell you, oh, you can't do that, that's a white man. But see, I'm a Moroccan, not a Moroccan. So I look at stuff the way that it really is, and it's always going to be doable in some way. So dimensional frequencies exist on the same level as mental frequencies. It's all the same thing. It's just that dimensions, just like certain types of energy, like free radicals. Free radicals exist. But the minute you try to look at the free radical, it disappears. The minute you turn your head, it comes back into existence. As soon as you see it, it's gone. So it exists, but it only exists based upon perception. That is reality within itself. That's why that's why you can walk down the street and see somebody and be like, damn, I really don't want to talk to this person. And the person walk right by you like they ain't see you. That's because you became invisible in that second, or you projected a field to keep that energy from perceiving you. That's why when you go to court, they say you appear, because you don't exist until you make your presence known. That's why people like me, when we go to court, we have to put in a notice of special appearance. So that way, when I appear, you know it's special. So I'm not here for the everyday okey doke shit. So I can't stay. You know what I'm saying? I'm just appearing specially to ask you what it is, and then I'm out. You see what I'm saying? Whereas if you just go to court now and then you appear before the judge, you don't exist. So that's why he's always looking at the paper, because the paper is what he is dealing with. You are just standing in for the paper, because the paper can't talk. So they put you in a different dimension. You see what I'm saying? They took you out of reality and put you in a different dimension. And then based upon your misunderstanding, you go then into a further dimension, whether it be the further litigation, whether it be going to hell, which is the dismal crypt, which is the jail, right? Or now you're free. You see what I'm saying? But either way, they are occupying your prefrontal temporal lobe to give evidence and energy to something that doesn't exist. The courts don't exist. I told you, there's no such thing as corporations. In the end, there's only one, and that one came out of a trust. And this is the Virginia Company Trust, Chicago Railroad shit, whatever. That's the trust that got all these other governments under it. So the Treaty of Antarctica, all of that shit is wrapped up in the United States. If it's wrapped up in the United States government, then that means it's what? It's a part of the Virginia Company. That means it's in the Paysor Trust. That means it's in the railroad. That's why everybody's on the company. That's why everybody's working for a company. That's why they want you to set up a business. You see what I'm saying? Because you're going from one thing. So they took you from this admiralty, which is the law of the sea. Now they put the law of the sea, put you on the land, but you're still on a sea. You on a land boat, which is the train. So the train now, once you're in the train and you're under that, you know what that means? That means you're now fall under what? The Transportation Act, right? Which is what brought the first free white people over here in the first place. So now you under the Transportation Act because you're being moved and managed, right, by the company. And now you have to be conducted. This is where the conductors come from, right? These are the company men. These are the people that's there to secure the railroad. So the first company that came out of the railroad security firm was the Pinkertons. After the Pinkertons, then they turned it into the OSS. After the OSS, what did it become? CIA. That's why the CIA call themselves company men, because they all are railroad conductors. That's what they're doing. They manage people.
Do you remember Harry Belafonte? Remember Harry Belafonte? He fired one of his managers, and then years later, he found out that his manager was actually an agent.
Told you.
You heard about that? Yeah, the Harry Belafonte.
Yes, more, because guess what? Belafonte was an agent. He was a boule, right? Wasn't he in the boule?
Well, I'm sure they are. I should assume they are. I should assume that you see somebody on TV. I assume they are before, you know.
They all are. Wasn't he there with Martin Luther King? Wasn't he there with Mega Evans and Peyton Randolph and them? Wasn't he there with them? That means he's down with it. I don't chill with niggas I'm not cool with. Right? I don't chill with niggas I'm not rolling with like that. That's why I don't be on TV with nobody else, really. If you see me on TV with somebody, I really know this person. Outside of that, I can't. Because the minute I'm sitting on the same level with this person, and then come to find out this nigga done raped somebody or what, now I look crazy. And I just met this nigga to just be on the show. But because I'm in the same box, because this is TV to people now. Like when we grew up watching TV, people watch the internet like TV now. Exactly. We don't get it. So you're a star. You're a celebrity, nigga. Like you're on TV. You understand? Andy Warhol said at one point, everybody's going to be famous for 15 minutes. Exactly. Because this nigga had the plan for the internet. They already knew. They was doing it. They was already using it. Why do you think he called his shit the factory? See what I'm saying? Like this whole thing. And again, he was an agent. They showed you that in Men in Black. Yeah. Remember when Will Smith came to him? He was an agent.
I was in that. I was in the background in that.
You was in the back of that scene?
I was an extra. I was an extra in that, and I was in the background, and I was there for a 7-day shoot in that scene where they're partying at Warhol's house with the aluminum foil on the wall. Yeah. Because I did a lot of extra work back in the day. Me too. And they were just Febreze the outfits. Yeah. Every day we were there for a week, and I was like the second day, and we'll wash it. 70s outfits. And I was like, hey, are y'all washing these after we back? And they're like, no, we're just Febrezing these. And I was like, so they're corduroy pants, like corduroy. Yes. And it was in the middle of the summer. We were recording in the middle of the summer. People wearing bell bottoms, everybody, aluminum foil. Everybody, they were just spraying the clothes. They were being cheap. They were spraying all those clothes in that scene. It was all that whole. It was a week.
But see what I'm saying? Out of all of the scenes,
they never watched
all of the scenes. Out of all of the scenes, though, why would I choose that one? Not even knowing that you was in it. That's what I'm saying. The synchronicity is like that. That's what I'm saying. We on the same vibe. Like this is what I'm saying. All your listeners, my listeners, these type of people. Those of us in the real world, those of us that still have our soul, those of us that still love a woman, women that still love a man, the human people, HUE men, us, we already surpassed all of this. We just got to survive the idiots. We just got to get past the useful idiots and we'll be straight. So long as you don't fuck with the useful idiots, we'll all be good. That means that when niggas come to you, start talking about voting or doing any type of bullshit, and this nigga's talking to you about voting, but he don't got a nationality. He don't got no house. He don't got no bank account. Walk away from these niggas, bro. These niggas start talking about moral science and shit like that. And he's saying that his name is Raw Ankh Bay, Karma, Khan, L. But then you look at this nigga's license plate and it's Steven Johnson. He's going to jail eventually. You need to stay away from him. Same thing. These niggas talking about Hebrew Israelites. They out here, white man gonna go to jail and we gonna live with all of the white women in harems and all of this shit. Mind control. All of these guys are under mind control. And the symbols and the words, the trigger words that they use are all the same. They're just in different sects. We, like I said, have got to start thinking like titans and gods again. To the point that I don't give a damn what an ant is doing. I don't give a damn what another man is talking about if it's not relative to me, and especially if it's not the truth. If I'm watching something and it's affecting me emotionally more than intellectually, then something's wrong. You understand? I need to pull back because I'm not going to give my emotions to something that I don't know or does not exist. Because that's how you get yourself open for demonic possession. No, my nationality keeps me from doing shit like eating pork, like going to the strip club, like getting drunk every night, like informing on my brother, like committing adultery against my wife, shit like that, like basic shit. You know what I'm saying? But that's also a choice. That's what I chose to do. So it's really about reaching your level of excellence, not mine. It's about each one of us reaching our own level of excellence raising that vibration to the point that we are dealing with equality and then opening it up so we could deal with some group economics and really get paid. You know what I'm saying? And we can do it, but we can't do it if half of us are slaves, the other half of us is down with the shit, the other half of us is informing on niggas. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everything else is bullshit. Everything else is fake.
Yeah, so I have a question for you. So you made really interesting points about the fact that, you know, within a court realm, you know, as far as, you know, different nations, different countries have these different laws, and one law here, you know, in this state people can smoke weed, in this state people can't smoke weed, and it's almost like, you know, with law and things like that, that it's kind of like a you're talking about almost like a legal dimension, you know, where it's like, hey, there's different legal dimensions. And, you know, people are able to, you know, create these different dimensions on paper that people that become a real world thing. Even though it's a written paper thing, it's like you're in that, somebody's in jail in that dimension, somebody in this other dimension, they're, you know, in a holding cell. You know, there's all these different dimensions. And so my question to you is, you know, it reminds me of like hard drives, you know, like when you put in a hard drive, where it's like we're talking about our mind as the ultimate dimension. And it's like somebody can create these, you know, different partitions in their brain to be able to control them or create a new reality or different things like that. You know, so, you know, what's your thoughts on you know, viewing the mind as you know, the realm, the entrance to the universe, you know, and partitioning that, how is it that, you know, that partitioning is happening, you know, because we know like the propaganda, radio, the TV, things like that. But, you know, can that type of partitioning be happening from even like more kind of sneakier levels, like, you know, just going to school and being like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. It's like, can even things like that be affecting our brains and just the whole schooling system?
Yeah, it's all the same shit, bro. In the end, like, to wrap it up, it's all, buddy, it's all the same stuff, bro. In the end, it really comes down to what you're going to accept and what you let in and what you believe is real. I never believed that the corona shit was real. So I was never going to get the damn vaccine. You know what I'm saying? Whether it was real or not, I was never going to do it. Because I don't live through so much already. Like, I'm not going to shoot myself up with something that I don't have just in case I have it to get sick to then get well from it. It just never made no sense. So that was never going to happen. So there's certain things vibrationally that just won't come to you because you're not open to it. So if we as original people are taught to be sponges, just be open for everything because our melanin absorbs everything, but it doesn't have to, it can absorb it without us having to internalize it. So just like a sponge takes all this water and you squeeze the excess water out, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. The excess water is everything we don't need because that's waste. You only need that which you need to sustain. Everything else is extra. So if everybody is trying to be or get what everybody else got, then that means nobody has nothing. So essentially, those of us that don't have to do that have everything. So there's nothing outside of me that exists that I can't obtain because there's nothing outside of me worth attaining outside of myself. So anything else I get outside that is a gift. You see what I'm saying? Instead of something that I'm supposed to just kill myself to get. Because Allah gave me everything that I would ever need. If I'm hungry, I could go right now and pick a coconut off the tree right now. Me and my son always was doing that. Right now, if I get sick, I can go outside and I can see the dandelion. I could pull it out the ground right now and eat it in my house. Get better, bro. Right now.
Weeds, right? Oh, those are weeds, but it's like,
nigga, you could be dandelion grow everywhere. Dandelion grow in the hood. It's all over the hood.
Exactly.
Dandelion is all over the hood, bro. All over. And I mean, like in the projects, like on the basketball court, coming out the ground. You just don't know that that's what it is.
You know? Oh, that's weeds. You know, and that goes back to the.
You know how many people in the ghetto starving when they could just go have a dandelion salad every day.
Exactly.
Every day, Mo. That's how we have it. We don't even know what we got. And that's what I'm trying to say, because we always need some cracker or some black slave to come and tell us that what we got ain't enough. That's not the truth. Everything we born with, everything we have, we can use it. We can do it right now. The reason why it's not happening is because we live around a bunch of slaves. So these slaves, because they look like us, we have compassion, which we should, but not so much compassion to the point that I'm gonna stay in the barrel with these niggas. No, I don't care what type of nigga you are. I'm done with niggas. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I love niggas. You see what I'm saying? So it's this constant paradox of you understanding what I mean when I say the word nigga. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but really, when I say the word nigga, I'm not even talking about niggas. See what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? How you can have one thing and dimensionally it occupies all these different things. But in reality, the thought is still concise. And the thought is, regardless to what anybody else is doing, what are we going to do? Like I said, when y'all didn't, females, when Allah gave you Shahrazad Ali, she was out here. She's still out here. Allah's still giving you mercy. She's still here and was giving you all of the real shit. The same shit basically that this nigga is talking about. If you really listen, the difference is she's coming from the perspective of love. This nigga is coming from the perspective of the brotherhood. You understand? You see the difference?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And so now we got to minstrel even more. So now we're going to get the other one that's known for the information in the school and the conscious stripper and all that shit. Now we're going to big them up. You see what I'm saying? But both got good messages. They both got good messages. It's just that they are both part of the brotherhood.
Compromised.
You see? They both part of the brotherhood. I'm not. You not. So vibrationally, you can hear what the fuck I'm saying, because I can say whatever I want. Because I don't have no cable toe behind me. They don't got me on tape having sex with a dude or whatever. They don't got none of that. My name ain't on no large manifest anywhere on earth to be able to tie me to that shit. I'm doing the opposite. I'm praying niggas out of that shit. I'm doing rituals where I force these niggas to have to ask permission from the darkest black woman I could find. And it's up to her in the moment. If she say, okay, I'll forgive you, you can give up the apron. If not, nigga, guess what? You're going to pay me for the ceremony so I can give her bread. And you're going to come back next year and do it. You take a whole nother year. I got 3 niggas right now. They didn't come back. This is about the 4th cycle. They hoping they get it this year. And when I say get it, I mean to be released, because only Moors can release these people from them obligations. Because we were the rulers of the world prior to them getting into that. And we created the system for them to become into the human family by freeing them and accepting them into our noble houses. So when they wear those fezzes with the writing, the writing represent the Moor that owns the nigga wearing the hat.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. It's deeper than that. It get deeper than that. They got a ritual where they go get a bum off the street. The white boys go get a bum off the street. The most dirty, whatever, dark-skinned bum they could find. And they offer him liquor or whatever and put a bag on his head and bring him into the most beautifulest temple, walled off Astoria or whatever, and they sit him in the throne. And all of the white boys be around him. And they say, this is your father. This is your master. This is your mentor. This is your brother. Always keep him down.
Wow.
Yes. So any Negroes that go through these rituals with calling themselves Prince Hall or whatever, it's all Satanist. It's all Luciferian. It's all demonic. Because y'all niggas been flashing hand signs with each other for over 300 years. And we ain't no farther closer to the kingdom than we was before y'all niggas started. We was actually closer together before all that shit started. Y'all niggas, these are the niggas that's keeping us apart. the Jay-Z's, and I don't mean them. I don't want to keep harping on him, but I'm just
the
using
Boule, the
Boule, the Archons, the these people. Before we even fuck with the white people, because we know what they are. They ain't really nothing. The only reason why they where they are is because of the niggas under them. If we was to get rid of all of them niggas and it would be just us and them, it'd be over.
So I got two ending questions for you. My first question, my last question is your views on the afterlife. So that's the last I want to end on that. But my this question is you were bringing up when we were talking about legal and dimensions and things like that. And when people talk about the sea, and the ocean and maritime law and stuff like that. So I'm curious because I'm sure you saw Baron von Munchausen, that movie where he takes the boat and he makes it to the moon through the boat, from the water being able to reach the moon.
That's right.
What's your understanding of maritime law as it relates to Moorish history and
economic
modern law and why is it that like L. Ron Hubbard started his satanic thing in the water?
Well, water is an interdimensional lubricant because it exists in all dimensions simultaneously. So, like in Constantine, in order for him to get to hell, he had to put his foot in the water and stare in the cat eye. Remember? So water is the lubricant, just like in the movie, where the chick had to go. It's just like in the same movie, but she had to get in the tub, right? And then that second that the water dropped was like an eternity within that, because time is relative to third dimensional space. You understand? So velocity and time only exists on a third density. It don't exist on the fourth, fifth, and sixth. So the time that I throw the ball is me catching it on the fifth dimension. So I throw the ball. As soon as I throw it, it's in my hand. If I pick the apple, as soon as I pick the apple, the next apple there. You understand? So it's the same thing. And that exists, again, on a non-physical, corporeal plane that is expansed to exist at such a level that it exists simultaneously, yet individually, right? And multifacetedly at the same time. So it's both length, width, depth, height, see what I'm saying? Weight. So think of reality like a tesseract within a tesseract within a tesseract within a tesseract within a tesseract. So therefore, the microcosm is what you, the macrocosm is what you see. The microcosm is what you are. You understand? So when you are vibrating through the microcosm, you become the macrocosm because you are functioning on the atom vibration that you came in on. The minute you become a divergent reality, a divergent personality, you veer off from the original tesseract and from the original trajectory that you came into the reality to discover. Yet that's still a part of the actual thing because you can always veer back. Unless you veer off so far that you feel that there is no way back. So see, it's the perception. The closer you get to the horizon, the farther away the horizon gets. You've never been on a plane and seen a curve in the earth. Therefore, what we perceive is what is reality, not reality itself. So what makes the reality is our perception, and what we do with the perception fosters the reality. So therefore, reality, fantasy exists simultaneously. So one can overlap the other. This is why they can create rituals that make you think that it's real, but it's not. That's the difference between a real occurrence, a historical occurrence, and a false flag event. So Sandy Hook was a real occurrence, but it was a false flag event. You understand what I'm saying? It happened, but it was still based on a fiction. So it still didn't happen, even though it did. That's the reality that
Columbus discovering America.
You see what I'm saying? It happened, but it didn't happen like that.
do you call it? George Washington chopping the cherry tree.
Cherry tree.
Yeah.
It happened, but see, if we understood that George Washington was an esquire, and that the cherry tree represented testicles, and that the chopping represent the ritual of castration that the Moors would do to the captured Slavs that they turned into Janissaries and Mamelukes. You see what I'm saying? The cherries being cut, you see what I'm saying, represent the what you call it, the unit culture, that castrato culture that these niggas came with. That's why their skin was so pale, because they didn't have no testes to produce the testosterone. So they start being pale. This is why their skin was so, what you call it, why they had to wear the makeup, because they had no testosterone to move it up. So they had to put the pigment, fake pigment in. That's why they had to put the frilly dandan around their collars and shit, because their necks and stuff start sinking in because of the castrato, the lack of testosterone. That's why they had to wear the big boots with the over the knees, because they joints and shit is weak because they're not producing testosterone, so their bones is becoming brittle. You see what I'm saying? That's why they wore the little lace shit on they hands to hide how emaciated and shit their wrist was. That's why they had to keep using the perfume and spraying it on themselves, because the opening where their penis and their thing used to be was stinking, because it was stale and rotting. You understand? So they had to put perfume and shit on each other like that to make them think like that. And these niggas became the basis. You mean to tell me these niggas was the ones that's running the world now? No. Niggas is using these motherfuckers as decoys. You see what I'm saying? Like, we quick to think, oh yeah, the reptilians using the white man as the slave to do this and that. But what if them reptilians was niggas? It makes more sense than to think that this white man is such God and so incredible that he could just destroy 100 million people with 3 ships. The fuck out of here, bro. So that's what I say about reality. It's all what you make it. And right now they are making this reality a trash reality. So if we want to see a different one, we gotta invest and do it. We need to really actually create reality. Like, it's possible. Like, one of the things I used to do back in the days when I was really into metaphysics was do world building. Because like, I write, I draw comics and do books and stuff. So I know how to build a world. But building a world from scratch is something that every individual should do. Like, this is what I'm doing right now with my son. I told him, okay, we're going to create a world, yo. So in this world, all reality works by numbers. So in your world, you have to ascribe a number for each part of it. So this way, okay, like when you do painting by numbers, right? The sky may be 1, the ground may be 2, the thing may be 3. And then based on how you color it, you create the picture. So it's the same thing in the reality you want. This now becomes an escape hatch for you, an alternative reality for you to escape to. God forbid you ever got tortured. God forbid you ever got kidnapped. God forbid you whatever. And they were doing something to you where you had to disassociate yourself, because that's when they create that's when they create the clones of you through trauma and force you to disassociate yourself from your main identity. What if you've already created a world to be able to project yourself to draw power from, to help you overcome where you're at? That's what they mean when they say, oh, I'm going to my happy place. I'm going to my safe place, right? And you be the mind control movies. Go to your happy place. Go to your safe place, right? That's the world that's already created, that they taught them how to build, to disassociate themselves to deal with the trauma. So if they doing that on a basis, why not you do that? That way you can go to the vacation and replenish yourself and come back here, because you've already gone to your world. And who's to say after this physical version happened and you decide to go into the thing, who's to say that that world you created wasn't already there in the world that you actually come from? You don't know. But we are not this introspective within ourselves. We only go to movies to watch this shit, when really the whole movie is based on us. So build your world how you want. Ascribe the water a number or a color or a smell or whatever, and start to write it down. And every day add more onto your world, to the point where that composition book you put in your thing, that's an actual reality. That's an actual dimension that you can control as God. because that's what you are here to do. Didn't God put it all into a book? Right?
Yeah.
And then the people decided, okay, I'm reading this book, I'm closer to God. So who's to say that that energy that you have been putting into this hasn't created this reality, being that you are in the mind of Allah right now? You are in it now. You are in the kingdom now. The kingdom of God is within, so saith the Lord. So who is to say that you are not, we are all not in that essence of creation right now? There's nothing that exists outside of that but the devil. Right? That's why the vampire, when he died, he blow up. Because the sun hates this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? But the sun ain't God. The sun is the manifestation of the God that is within us. That's why we absorb and attract the shit. That's why this nigga wants to dim the sun. But think about it. How can you dim the sun if it's 93 million miles away? That must mean it's under the same canopy as the moon and the earth. You see how they tell on themselves? So all that flat earth shit is dead. All that other shit is dead. All that globe earth shit is dead. All of that shit is dead. Because in the end, it all comes from the same lie. There's no such thing as these corporations. All these corporations could vanish tomorrow. It wouldn't even matter. You and I would still be here because in the end, none of them corporations own anything. None of these millionaire, billionaire niggas own nothing. Michael Jackson was a billionaire. They got rid of that nigga. So what you care? Putin be killing billionaires every other day to take their money. When they don't sign up for the Russian Federation, look up Putin kills Russian billionaires. It's like he got like bodies. It's like black.
Yeah, definitely journalists, billionaires.
Yeah, fuck.
You know, he has his own. He has that hip hop initiative too.
Yeah,
like
more.
To
this nigga gave Mike Tyson citizenship. Do you understand? Mike Tyson went to Russia and received a full Russian military parade. My nigga, they brought the bombs and everything out for this nigga. Gave this nigga him. No, not him. Yeah, him. Michael Jackson. Remember Michael Jackson made the song Stranger in Moscow? That was when he was in exile in Moscow when they was trying to lock him up for the fake pedophile shit.
Wow.
Putin and them niggas was looking out for that nigga. This nigga was living in the Kremlin, nigga.
Wow. I didn't know that.
That's when he wrote that song, Stranger in Moscow. Because this nigga Roy Jones Jr. is a Russian citizen. He got a Russian diplomatic passport right now. Russians love niggas. Don't get it twisted. Russians love Moors. They don't like niggas. That's what it is. They don't like niggas, but they'll fuck with some Moors. Because they know, because the Renaissance never reached them.
Yeah, they kept all the black sultanas. Exactly. They kept all the
black up until they killed Tsar Nichols in them. Because Tsar Nichols in them was all black. So yeah, more. In the end, we all we got. In the end, these niggas done already lost. In the end, we already in the future. We just projected our intuitive self to this third density to act as a beacon for those of us around our people that may want to get up out of here. But we're not here to change this shit. This shit has to destroy itself first before it can change. So what we got to do is change ourselves by evolving what we perceive as ourselves and try to go within our inner mind's eye and get to the point of yourself that exists right on the edge of your humanity. Because it comes apart when you leave this reality that you are going to go to the edge of what you perceive to be yourself or what yourself is. And that's based upon the physical body. But the real you exists beyond this. So the part of you that goes beyond being a human now is you going back to your true self. And a lot of us, that true self is always depicted to us as monsters. You understand? So the monsters that you see in these movies are really the aspect of you that is beyond human, that has not accepted that. And now that entity is coming to take you out to go back to your real self. You understand? That's why Freddy Krueger dealt with the dreams. See what I'm saying? That's why Jason Voorhees had to deal with the underworld through the Olokun when they buried him in the lake. Right? And then he was the one always killing the youngsters right when it was about to copulate. Right? Because he's trying to destroy white supremacy. He killing white supremacy because he only killed white people. Think about that.
You're right.
Mike Mason only killed white people. Right when they about to have sex and shit, because that's what happened with him. He was molested, right? Then they killed him. Then they threw him in the lake. Right? So that's Jason. Same thing with Pinhead, the Cenobites and shit with the box, right? When you look at the first Hellraiser movie, guess where he got the box from? Morocco. Go back and look at the movie. You're gonna see him talking to the man. You're gonna see black men with feathers walking back and forth past the window. This is what I'm saying, more like we so in it, we don't even know. We don't already won. We just can't get caught up in the bullshit, you know? So that's why I'm thankful you having me on, bro.
Oh man, it's great. It's great, man.
Thank you for having a platform and exposing these niggas the way you do, because these people, man, they're horrible. And in that era, that whole industry, they really think they slick. But like you said in the beginning, we know what real DJs was and is. And if you wasn't scratching, cutting, mixing, none of that, nigga, you're not a DJ. You just spin CDs. So let's stop giving these dudes more credit for shit that they really don't know how to do. You know what I'm saying? Let's stop giving credit to people who really don't exist.
You know, one thing we forgot to add, though, was we were talking about it before I started recording, was the guy, you know, the guy that gave all those sisters AIDS, you know.
DJ Kid. DJ Kid. He worked for the Democratic National Convention. He was the DJ, the #1 DJ for all their parties. They got pictures of him with Hillary Clinton. They got pictures of him with Serena Williams. They got pictures of him with all of these niggas. And this nigga was out there raping and having sex with over 700 only dark-skinned black women.
I've seen the picture.
Gave them all AIDS, gave them all herpes, gave them all syphilis and shit. And that means that each one of those, so now think about that, that's 700 black females. That means that those black females, we gotta do the numbers. So that's 7, 14. What's 7 times 3?
21.
Right. So 7 times 12 is what?
7 times 12, 70 plus 14, 84.
So that's about 8,400 people who are infected right now. You understand? Yeah, all because these bitches wanted to be, all because these chicks wanted to be in a rap video with this nigga, me. And then they said that he would be there and he would always, he'd be there with the black men and all of that. But when it came to the black women, the first thing out of his mouth was about how whack black men were and how black men ain't shit and how you need to get with him and he could put you in the game and he could do this and all of that.
He was going raw.
Yep. And then look what happened. Have you heard any black women came out and talk about this nigga?
Nobody.
Not a one.
Yeah, not a whole lecture on it.
Not a one. But you gonna say that I'm toxic? You gonna say that my masculinity is toxic, bitch? No. Y'all nigga, you lay down with dogs, you get up with flea. A hit dog holler, right? And a closed mouth don't get fed. So if you out there and you think that being with everybody else other than your own people is the way to go, I want you to continue that. Follow that and keep that same energy all the way through. So those of us that know better can do better and work together to heal ourselves, man. Because I need that original woman just like she need me and vice versa. We cannot do it alone because we got to correct ourselves to protect our children from all of these niggas, these Negroes, these boulets, these archons, these human traffickers, these Freemasons, these dirty Moors, these dirty Hebrew Israelites, these filthy Christians, because they all are going to the same orgies. They've all given the same herpes simplexes. They all out here urging people to go poison themselves and shit. And we don't have no protection other than our common sense, our belief in a higher self, and our collective unity when it comes to getting shit done. Outside of that, if they ain't talking about nationality, birthright, inheritance, and your inner divinity, they're your enemy. Straight up. So again, brother, thank you for having me on. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for constantly putting these people in their place and exposing these racist ass niggas and shit. Like I said, check out the sister Ashley Says So. She do a lot of real good breakdowns on these old school Hollywood, R&B, Motown, all these type of niggas. All of this shit I'm talking about. Also, there's books you can get. There's a book called The Conspiracy Against Rock. Get that book. There's another book called Thanks for the Memories by Kathy O'Brien. Get that book. In that book, it talk about how Michael Jackson and them was raped by Bob Hope right before they did the Dick Cavett show and shit. There's another book called Weird Scenes in the Canyon about Laurel Canyon. The weird scenes in Laurel Canyon, something about that, about Laurel Canyon. And the fact that all of rock music, all of them come from military intelligence. All of them. Jim Morrison's father was the admiral that faked the attack at the Gulf of Tonkin incursion that set off the Vietnam War. You understand? But Jim Morrison said that his father died. See what I'm saying? There's another conspiracy that says Jim Morrison actually was Rush Limbaugh. That's a whole nother one. But Solomon Rushdie and Stanley Kubrick, that's the same person. Look that up for yourself. The other site to check, also check out again, Ambassador Prince Michael. Check this brother's joint out, man. He gives the whole science on the Kikuyu thing, the Mount Kenya thing, the Black Panther curse thing. They need to holler at him. Anybody that you know dealing with the Black Panther in terms of the real movie and all that, I'm telling you, if they don't holler at this nigga, a lot of people gonna wind up dead, whether you put the Panther in it or not. You know what I'm saying?
And what about your stuff too? Any
thank you, bro.
Books you're writing to that?
Yeah.
You were the first to put the connection with the superheroes, the super Heru.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro.
All these superheroes are actually based off of
real shit.
Ancient, our ancient,
yes,
more stories and mythologies and histories and
yes, sir.
And heroes.
Yeah, I have a series on my site. If you go to www.aseertheduketeers.com, I have a whole series called Science of Superheroes. This is before all of the superhero thing was coming out. I did a 3 DVD series on it, and I also did a book, like a workbook on it. So I had that up there. Yeah, I also wrote a book myself, a comic book novel called The Dark Skull 418, the world's most dangerous comic book novel. You could check that out. You get the ebook version on www.gumroad.com and just type in Aseer the Duke of Tears in the chat. And all my classes and books and stuff will come up. And then I'm working right now on the Redux, the color version of that. Because I stopped it after the 12th printing because I went through some stuff with the publishing. Well, I had my own company and then the distributing company. So they did great up until the 5th run, the 10th run, 10th printing. And that's when I got a thing with them. So I shut that down and regrouped it because I want to come back out of it, in color. I'm having the toys made with it and all of that. And I'm working on the prequel. But while that was happening, I learned about how the publishing game worked with the distribution and all of that. And in the process of that, why it's a lot like the music industry, the literary industry. But the thing is, when you control your own literary aspect, you can print at your own will. So they don't have no books, right, for me left. So they got one book left. They selling that book for like $10,000 right now.
Wow.
That's also why I stopped mentioning books on certain lectures, because I noticed they will up the price. Like one book I talked about, Forgotten Cause of the Civil War, that shit is almost $20,000 now. The book is like this big. So definitely check that out. Definitely check out www.cordobaorganics.com for all your skin needs. It's healing people. It's really good. Growing hair back. It grew my dad's hair back before he died, bless the dead. And it's just great. It's great products, and it's all based on old Moorish recipes, because my queen is a direct descendant of Hakam the First, who was the first to build the libraries out there in Cordoba and all of that. So big up to her. I couldn't do any of this without her. And my son, my family, thank you, man. Thank you guys. And again, man, anybody that's doing the work, I just want to support. So you don't got to be a Moor for me to support you. You could be whatever. So long as you against the devil and you ready to bang on the nigga, I'm down with you. So you could call yourself whatever. Just don't hate on me because I know who I am. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to be this for us to work. But at the same token, it's going to come to a point where we all going to have to declare who and what we are and what we descend from. And words like Black and African and Indian and these things, that ain't going to do it. Because all of those were misnomers for slaves. You know what I'm saying? The only people known on paper for banging on this devil, banging on Rome and all of that was the Moors, the Moorish peoples. So that's us. So whether you see yourself as that or not, I choose to see the higher self in us all. Because I feel like if our ancestors was to come back today, see us like this, they probably kill us first.
Yeah.
Before you go at the crack. You know what I'm saying? So let's all strive to be worthy of the praise that we know we want, man. And let's strive to just work, like I said, together. And like I said, brother, I really appreciate you having this platform and creating the window, the universe for other people that are in the DJ game, in the entertainment game, in the music game, to know that there is somebody that knows how to not only navigate it, but what to look out for and what we can do together. Because what there needs to be a trust established for people's publishing. So this way, your individual publishing is established, connected to your family trust. And then that family trust is connected to another trust now that's strictly for the music. So this way, everybody can get what they want individually, but collectively, we're protected. So they can't just come in and remake Tutti Frutti with Pat Boone on it. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever, just to shit on Little Richard and these people. You know what I'm saying? Because as deviant and dirty as some of them people was, they gave us the best legacy in terms of music. So we can't let that go. But we cannot deify these people because all of them niggas, I've yet to find one historically in researching that was not involved in the crazy shit. Like I just found a postcard from Malcolm X where he was writing Red Fox, because him and Red Fox used to pimp bitches together.
Yeah, they're gangsters. They're both gangsters.
Right. And he was writing him from Africa, talking about how upsetting it was that all of these African monkeys is all together, but my people in America can't even get it. And I'm like, damn, he referred to them like that.
Wow.
Right, real letter, a real postcard. But then I'm like, he still was a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, as much as he loved Africans, I'm pretty sure that not all of the Africans over there was treating him well. You know what I mean? So let's not act like as soon as we think Africa, like everybody over there love us. That's not the case.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And all I'm saying is I got love for any African that got love for me. But any African that don't, I don't. And it's that simple. You know what I mean? Just like I would be for a Brazilian or Portuguese, they go on anybody. My people come first to me. So everybody else is secondary. So today that's called supremacy, right? But when I was growing up, that was called race pride. Right? So let's all have race pride, man. Because in the end, we all we got. And race don't exist, but it exists to these niggas. So until we can get to the point where as a race, we defeat it, so that way we can do away with the whole term of race altogether, great. But until then, you better define who you are. Because outside of this place, I'm an American. But inside of America, I have to define what type of American I am, or they're going to try to kill me. So let's all stay alive, man. And live to the new day. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
All right.
All right, man.
Love, brother.
That was great. That's dope.
Great, bro. Great. I really think it's going to blow. Let's see if they do anything trying to fuck with the feed, because that be happening sometimes. So, you know.
This was a live stream. This was just all, this was just recording. I'm gonna
great.
I'm gonna add the like pictures to.
I'm gonna send you the pictures too.
Yeah, and upload it. Yeah.
Okay.
Word, man.
I'm gonna text them to you.
Word, man. So yeah, man. Thanks so much, man. Let me
love, brother.